wet. It gets better during the day. My shoes are just too big. I keep falling over my feet.
That's not the case.
No. I didn't think so.
Hi there.
What is birthday tonight?
Yours?
No, my best friend. I.
Morning.
Great morning.
Hi, Andrew.
Need a tripod? Okay.
If there is one.
We have one. Is that over in the corner of your wall? Hey, where was I?
Cheryl, what do you consider an after hours pass?
That's if someone comes to the ranger station and no one is in the ranger station, they can, we have after hours passes in envelopes and they still have to pay through we have the passes in envelopes. They put their money in there and take the pass and put the money in the envelope in a drop box.
And so when is the station staffed?
Well, it depends what time of year. Around this time of year, it's staffed almost all the time because we usually have 2 people there on
And
each
and
shift.
the hours are,
8 a.m. to 9 p.m.
all right, so basically 13 hours.
Yeah. It will not be staffed to that extent after Labor Day.
Right.
However, or before the middle of June.
Why?
Before the middle of June,
Yeah, why wouldn't it be staffed?
at those other times,
Yeah,
because the park isn't as busy.
Well, not staffed to that extent. It's still
Oh, it's
staffed.
still staffed, correct, yeah, but not from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. in May or after Labor Day or early June.
would you guys like to use that table right there? You could spin it 90 degrees so it was convenient for you.
Oh, sure.
Set the microphone.
It's heavier than it looks.
It's a little heavier than it looks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Slide your chairs up if you'd like to.
Hi, Carl. Cheryl, can you put the microphone down by your floor? Might be. Oh, yeah, they're gonna probably want to talk. Yeah. Never mind. Hi. Be Thursday.
There you go.
Of last week.
Oh, that's right. That's this weekend.
I'm not sure. Maybe next week.
Okay, I can go with that. Heidi, are you good to go?
Yep.
Della?
Mhm.
Lois?
Yep.
Cheryl?
Yep.
Don? Yes. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this special meeting of the Whitewater Township Board. Today is August 18th. It's hard to believe our summer is nearly over, but we will call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. Welcome, everyone. Roll call when ready.
Pop,
Here.
Goss. Here. Bennett,
Here.
Glenn,
Here.
Valmuth. Here.
Any changes to the meeting agenda? Any conflict of interest? And I would like to start off public comment. We received an email from Bob Campbell late last night. I forwarded it to all board members, but Mr. Campbell writes, Supervisor Pop, please share this email with all members of the Township Board. I am sorry I could not be there in person. My name is Bob Campbell, 8886 Keegamug Point Road. I'm also president of the Elk Skeegamug Lake Association. Before I was ESLA officer, Elk Skeegamug Lake Association officer, I was the board's point person to promote the clean, drain, and dry mantra for trailer boat launches in our waters. Our members, around 42 miles of shoreline, entrust us to be their advocates to help keep invasive plants and animals from being transferred into our shared waters. In my former role, I was surprised and disappointed several years ago when the contracted planner for the township's proposed boat launch expansion did not include a boat wash station. Today, I once again am surprised and disappointed that you are being asked to move forward on the bidding of what clearly has morphed into an even more dubious project with no guarantees for incoming boat traffic wash stations to protect the quality of our lakes. For the sake of Whitewater's arguably most valuable asset, I urge you to reject this proposal. Bob Campbell. Moving forward, I would like to go out to Zoom. So if anyone out in Zoom land has public comment, please use your raise the hand signal, or you can wave the screen and I will call on you. Good morning, Mr. Rebant.
Yes, good morning. I have a couple comments. I would certainly agree with Mr. Campbell that a boat wash station would be an absolute requirement for a project of this scale and this impact. Not only is it affecting Elk Lake and Skegamog, but you have to consider the entire chain of lakes. The amount of traffic, boat traffic that has gone through the Whitewater Township boat launch, I think is a significant player in the activity on all of those lakes. And I would certainly believe that the discussion of doubling the capacity of launches from 2 to 4 will even further create not only concerns for the quality of the water, but the safety of the launch, the safety of the people who are entering and leaving that whole staging area. You know, this is a significant project. It's like taking a one-lane road and turning it into a four-lane highway. And I'm very concerned about that. I'm also concerned about, have we, as Whitewater Township, a community of Whitewater Township residents, have we really engaged all of the people who will be impacted by this project? And certainly ESLA is one of them, the community of Elk Rapids, the township, and all of the townships that border at least the main lakes, which is Elk Lake and Skegamog. I think they are significant stakeholders in what we're doing. And the last thing I would want to see is Whitewater Township underserve our community at large. The northwestern portion of the state of Michigan is a significant destination for boaters, and they come here for a reason. The water is beautiful. The water generally is pure. I've spent 10 years doing studies of streams for the Watershed Center. And believe me, there are examples of what you would not want to see in Elk Lake or in Skegamog. So I'd implore that at a minimum, as this project moves forward, that a boat cleaning station be part of it. If it isn't, I think you stop this project right on its heels right now. Number two, the impact of doubling the traffic through that boat launch and all of the safety issues would certainly raise a red flag to those who have to use it. And I think to all of the local communities, as well as groups like the Watershed Center, groups like Eagle, Tip of the Mitt, Watershed, all of those have experience and they understand what is required to build a safe and sustainable boat launch. Thank you.
Thank you. Vicky, good morning. Any public comment?
Good morning, Ron. Good morning, everyone in the Township Hall. All I can say is I would like to be on record of complete agreement with Mr. Campbell and Mr. Rebrandt. We definitely have to be aware of what we're doing, the impact that it has. This is not only significant in the scope, but also in the cost. And as I mentioned, every time that I speak to all of you, being fiduciaries of our funds, making sure that it's the right thing, but it should not be considered if a boat wash is not part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Dana. Good morning, Carrie. Oh, hi, Dana.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. We've been camping at Whitewater for many years now, and we use the dock every day almost, and it's getting more and more hazardous to people because their boats are getting longer. It needs to be extended somewhat. We agree with the power wash. It would be good for the lake to contain the species of an invasion species going out. But at the least, the dock, we would like to see the dock extended. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Jim. and Tom. Okay, how about anyone here in the public hall? Township Hall, any public comment? Please make your way to the podium, sure. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome, I don't recognize you.
All right, my name's Jan Garvey.
Hi, Jan.
I live at 9525 Playstrom Road. I'm just south of the Whitewater Township Park, and I'm also on the Elk Skegamog Lakes Association Board. So I understand from, reading up in past meetings that the project costs have escalated beyond the funds that are available, and this will require a multi-step, multi-year approach to completing the boat launch expansion and infrastructure with the increased parking, boat wash stations, rerouting roads, and all that encompasses. If the funds are limited, I think that we need to first get in the supporting infrastructure before expanding the boat launches. To keep our lakes in good condition for the future, we need to require people to wash their boats prior to coming in the lakes. So it's important to install the boat wash stations in the first phase of this project. The boat wash could be used with the current 2 boat launches, and that would be a great start. Then the increased parking and other infrastructure should be completed before expanding the boat launch. Without the infrastructure in place, those additional boat launches are going to create parking hazards, increased traffic problems, safety issues. In addition, before moving forward with doubling the boat launch capacity, data should be gathered on the usage rates currently for the boat launch, particularly on weekends and holidays during the summer. Do we have data on the parking availability, the wait times to get into the boat launch, as well as the wait times on the water? And if this data is available, it hasn't been shared. ESLA is currently gathering data on what other northern Michigan lakes are doing for boat washes, designs, best practices, learnings, and we will pass that along to you in a package when we've completed our study. Thank you.
Linda Slopsma, Miami Beach Road. I am a riparian owner in the community. I am also an Elk Skegamog board member and part of the environmental committee. So Whitewater Township is the largest riparian owner on Elk Lake. And currently it has the largest capacity on Elk and Skegamog Lake as far as a launch based upon the parking availability. As it is today, there's a high risk of invasives entering at Whitewater Township Park due to the volume. It is important that the board demonstrate great care for the health of the lake. The lake really is the main event in the township, as you've heard from other people's statements, and it's why we have a park and a campground. Lake and water stewardship is your critical responsibility. A presentation was made to you in July regarding aquatic invasives with specific information on Elk Lake and the need for an inbound high pressure hot water washing of the boats. This is the recommendation of various environmental groups, including the state of Michigan, also known as EGLE, Tip of the Mitt Watershed, and the MSU Extension, part of the College of Natural Resources at Michigan State University. These are the key people in our area that are the experts. I do not see any adjustments in the current published site plan for the boat launch expansion that comprehend the recommendation for the inbound boat wash. Again, this is not just an Elk Skegamog Association recommendation. It is a recommendation from the state of Michigan experts. Currently, when the winds increase on East Bay, many times we have fishing boats that are brought directly from East Bay waters and launched into Elk Lake without being washed. I have seen this myself when I was present at the park on a Sunday morning. I have watched as East Bay water poured down the boat ramp as they backed down the Township Park sloping drive. All of this water with Great Lakes invasives potentially pouring down the driveway directly into Elk Lake. I give you this example to just continue to educate you regarding the importance of the inbound pressurized hot water wash, that it should be your number one priority to protect Elk Lake from invasives. You should also consider the need to recontour the park's boat ramp because we all know it is steeper than most, and that's part of why that water is sloshing directly into the lake. It also is because the guy left his plug out, which they're supposed to do when they transport a boat. This should be your highest priority. I am also concerned that there is a lack of objective data justifying the need to expand the number of launch lanes and the parking area. We shouldn't be spending public money without clear data taken over time, which clearly quantifies the problem. What I mean by quantifying is you should be able to describe the problem in terms of what's happening, where it's happening, when it's happening, how much of it is happening, how long does it sustain the problem, and why is it happening? A disciplined process using data for decisions ensures that we're actually going to realize an improvement for the money spent. This is very much equivalent to what you see on the roads frequently as far as car counters and cameras when somebody wants to change something in our roadway around the state. So where is the township's data? Financially, this project has ballooned in cost. There seems to be a lack of full accounting of the administrative costs. And what I'm referring to is things like engineering costs and construction management costs in the cost breakdowns that have been supplied by Fleece and Vandenbrink. For example, we've already spent $39,000 to develop this project so far, and I don't see this accounted for on the list. The construction management fee also doesn't appear to be in the estimates. Aspects of the existing boat launch that are not functioning properly do need to be repaired immediately. I 100% agree with that. If there's a problem with the dock, it needs to be fixed, and we shouldn't be waiting for a grant to fix something that's not functioning properly or is dilapidated. You should get the proper engineering evaluations and 3 quotes and then decide what to do. If we continue with this project, I would suggest a township advisory team should be formed that is required to report out monthly to the board. All changes to the plan should be documented every 30 days, including cost impact and updated cost and timing. This team should have specific competencies such as accounting and financial professionals, environmental, engineering, and program managers. That's how you manage a $500,000 project. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Carl Rubel, I live at 9806 Elk Lake Trail. My concern has been for many years and still is why that ramp is so short. It's very shallow. I have a 24-foot pontoon boat. As many people in this lake have, and if there's a north or south wind, I can't put my boat in or take it out. It's just too dangerous. And there should not take very much money at all to make that dock 15 or 20 foot longer. That's not a long-term project. I just, in the fall, especially taking my boat out, if it's windy, I can't do it. I have as far as I support all the other comments on the cleaning station, although I do have a pressure washer at home when I take my boat out in fall, I take care of it myself, but that ramp being that short is ridiculous. I came to the meeting, I think it was 2 years ago, and nobody could tell me here how much longer the new dock was going to be. That's a basic question. That's the most important, in my view, thing of project on that. And you should be able to do that within a few weeks. That's not a big job. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Just going to do a quick. No other hands on Zoom. To the items listed in the special meeting notice. discuss details of proposed September 22nd, 2022 town hall meeting. Quick update from the school. It is available and I have reserved it for September 22nd. We can get in as early as 4:30 PM to set up our tables and any sound system. I asked if they had a wireless microphone. Mr. Graham did not think they had a device, such a device that was functional currently. So we may have to make some changes there. I'm thinking that a wireless microphone might go good for the public, so they don't have to come up to a centrally located podium, you know, get out of the bleachers, that type of thing. But, you know, any input on that from the board would be greatly appreciated. And how we doing on a voter list and a parcel list for addresses so we can get them deduped?
I just need Jim's address. I told you, email address. I don't have it. And I'll send my. file.
Okay, so you're gonna send it directly to him?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I said.
Okay.
I will as well. I have his address down. Okay. Forward it to me, please. Yep.
So does that still look like a good date for everybody? September 22nd?
What time did we say? I don't have it in my notes here. 7? Okay. Who's gonna move the sound system over there and the camera? And get the room set up?
We may not Zoom it.
Okay.
That's something the board can decide.
Well, we'll need someone to do it, to volunteer to do it if it's going to be used.
What's involved with moving the sound system? Is it? And I guess.
Well, I don't even know if we can move this sound system, to tell you the truth, because we can't move those speakers up there.
Yeah, so that's where I was going with
So,
that, is I'm not sure that,
yeah.
I mean, the person that services, and I can't think of the individual's name that you've referenced in the past who handles it, do they have a system that they can rent us for the day or for a few hours, or would they, you know, be willing to provide it?
We actually have our old one back here, yeah.
Oh,
So it has a remote speaker to it, an amp. All we need to do is use our microphones.
oh, so
That's
that's,
a simple plug and play.
okay, so we have a system that we can just move in there.
Yep. The
was unaware.
wireless interface would probably take the place of one of the microphone inputs. And, you know, I'm thinking about how do we get public input from a group that's 100 feet wide and 25 feet deep. Somebody has a comment or a statement over on this side of the room, and then the next one comes from over here. So I'm thinking maybe 2 wireless microphones, so we could have a master of ceremonies, if you will, take the microphone right to the people. Just a thought.
Yeah, well, I know we have one additional mic, well, actually, we have 2 with the podium microphone and the one that's at the table. Or if it be, so we do have the 2 phones, the question.
But they're not wireless.
You can get wireless
right,
for about 20
right.
bucks. Google them. You can get a Mr. Microphone for 20 bucks.
I think it would be important to have sound for the audience, right?
I would agree. I would agree.
I don't remember what we used for tables over there before the one other town hall meeting we had. Mostly they just have little kids' tables. So probably, I guess you should ask Mr. Graham, maybe what kind of tables they have, or are we renting tables?
I don't see why we couldn't use some of the lunch tables. You know,
That's
we
what I
would
was
just,
thinking. Aren't we gonna be in the gym?
For the board?
we would just sit on one side of them. They're on wheels. There's
Okay.
10 or 15 of them there. It'll look a little odd.
They do have tables other than little kids' tables.
You know, I forgot we have resident experts here. So Brett didn't know.
They do have tables.
Brett didn't know about the wireless microphone, but it,
I don't believe they have a wireless microphone.
okay,
We do assemblies, we only use one that have to hook into their speakers.
okay,
But there's a variety of different kinds of tables they could use.
excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We might use you as a liaison if you were so willing to help us.
I'll talk to Mr. Graham or to Mrs. Pike, who's the secretary, and see what they're, and then get back with you.
Sounds great. Thank you. In Zoom wise, you know, if we could potentially move that camera, it can hook into just a single laptop like it does right now. And that laptop just is close to the floor speaker. Should be pretty simple. And we can test all of it ahead of time.
We can set up at as early as 4:30 then.
Well, we could do a mock setup.
Oh, sure.
here, right?
Sure, yeah.
With the equipment and make sure that the 30-year-old stuff still turns on. And
So back to Cheryl's question, who's going to be responsible for doing that?
was that a volunteer?
No, it was not. It was a reiterating of a question that was asked and not answered. Just wondering.
Well, we're accepting volunteers.
I'll help you, but I know nothing about. You want me to get the Mr. Microphones? I'll get the Mr. Microphones. If you want me to stand here and move stuff out, I can do that, but hooking it up, you ain't gonna get that from me.
I don't think I'm as bad as Heidi, but but I'm not much better. I mean, I'm willing to help as well. I mean, to get set up.
We'll wing it.
I make no claims to being able to functionally do it.
An electrician once told me white and black make sparks.
Yes, it does.
So,
Just have the fire extinguisher.
but I mean,
with all the other
as far as testing the equipment here and you know, moving it over to the school and setting that up, I'm glad to help. I just
Sure.
so
Yeah.
He can't hear you, so either get close to your mic.
You can't hear me?
Why? You know, it's the same all the time. The people on Zoom are loud and clear. I don't even think these things are working.
Because they're 2 feet from everybody's
The
face.
Zoom people are loud and clear. You people
We
are.
can't get much closer.
You can't.
You know, I mean, this has been an issue for a long time.
We'll fix it.
We would like to.
Hire an audio engineer to come in here. That shouldn't be this hard as these speakers work. They just don't.
Can you hear me, Carl?
Yeah, I can hear her. You have a female voice. My ears pick that up, but
Oh.
I can hear Kim, but her I can't hear. I'm sitting right next to her. I can't hear, and I can't hear him. But the speakers, they work good on Zoom. They don't work good on these microphones. Why? That's all.
Understood. So what about Zoom? Do we want to think about Zoom too?
which camera were you pointing to that you thought could be moved?
That one standing right down
We only
there.
have the one.
Oh, just the one there. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's already portable. And if we can, if it's that portable and just needs to be wired into a laptop, I mean,
Well, it runs up here and then it hooks into this equipment here, which hooks into the laptop. And that's what makes the camera work.
meaning that equipment up there or just,
Well, that is the mixing board for all the sound. Yeah.
yeah.
So, but we didn't have that with the prior audio system. We just had a speaker and an amp. So if you're going to use that, then you'll be plugging the microphones directly into the amp.
I tell you, I think what we can do is some quick testing. And I would say that we don't remove that cord, we just remove the camera. We buy a new cord, can't be that expensive to have a 25-foot cord. And that way it's plug and play. Seems relatively simple.
Rather than tear up all of this.
Well, you gotta have it on the stand. So, I mean, that cord is easily unplugged. I have to unplug it when we set up for elections and then replug it in. It's very simple. That cord is ready to go.
Might want to
So-
test before you create a Zoom invite.
Pretty sure you have to have an invite to test.
I mean, before a Zoom invite is created for the public.
If we're
Gotcha.
telling.
So what I'm saying is.
If we're
not
noticing the
that
public.
day.
Right.
You don't want to test it at 1 o'clock.
So we can do all that. Anything else? How about our cards? According to my notes, we were going to have a couple of ideas about postcard and then what we were going to put on there. According to my notes, it was email your questions in early. What about setting up a dedicated Gmail account?
Oh, that's an idea. Then if nobody wants to talk in the audience, you could just go off of Gmail.
Only having done one of these, I don't remember there being a problem with the public not wanting to speak.
At least we won't be sitting there doing nothing.
Well, my thought was, is that way, Cheryl's email wouldn't be plugged with inbound
Oh,
questions.
no, my email won't be used. I already get too much email.
Right, so do I. And I'm sure Della's in a similar situation. So I don't know why we just couldn't say Whitewater comments, gmail.com. I think that'd be pretty easy to do. Thoughts?
I like the idea. I think and it take moments to set up.
Whitewater comments at gmail.com. You'll set that up and monitor it?
I don't know
Oh,
if that's going to be the name or not.
oh, okay. I'll take that back on.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to set that up, I'm in full agreement with that.
Okay.
Set up a Gmail account. Something does need to go on the postcard. Well, it should indicate, that you can be present in person or email or, our fax number
Who,
could be
what,
on there
when.
too. A lot of people don't use fax these days, but
Who, what, when, where, how, why.
The 32nd of the month, beginning at 7 a.m.
There you go.
so what's going to be on the postcard as far as the purpose of is it going to be ARPA funds? ARPA?
According to my notes, that's kind of the consensus we've come to, right? Because we, again, according from my notes, we believe that the line of questioning will be auto expanding. People will want to talk about what they want to
Oh,
talk
sure,
about
yeah.
anyway, right?
So basically the card's gonna say that we're doing the town hall meeting for ARPA only, where it's gonna be held, what time it's gonna be held, and that they can submit pre-questions if they want, and then we list the address where they send their questions. So we'll have to know what that is. That's basically it, right?
Repeat your list again.
Brief thing saying we're doing an ARPA, explain what that is. Town hall meeting, where it's gonna be located, what time it's gonna be located. And then give them the address that they can pre-submit questions right on the card. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily not gonna be there, but You know, they may
There-
not want to get up in front of people and talk, so their question can be read and we can talk about it. Right?
Sounds good to me.
I don't think we need to make it real complicated.
There should probably be just a sentence describing what ARPA funds are. A lot of people aren't going to know what that
Right,
is.
that's what I said.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna limit it to only ARPA, you're gonna limit the number of people that show up.
Well, I don't know about that. They want to know where we're spending the money these days. So.
But you just limited it to ARPA. So,
That is what this town hall meeting is supposed to be about, is it not?
okay, so if I read that postcard and I don't really care what you spend the money on, I'm not gonna come.
That's right.
So, wow, you don't want to pique someone's interest for another reason to come?
Well,
Okay.
Don't you think you should have another, if you're talking about the master plan, I think that's a separate town hall meeting. And it should focus on that. And I think you're gonna have plenty of people that'll show up for that.
I think when you have a description of, you know, I don't know how you want to word it, but the township, we invite your input in the discussion of how ARPA funds will be spent and a brief description of what they can be spent on. And those things might pique someone's interest, I would think. Remember, you don't have a lot of room on a postcard. You basically got one side of a postcard to put your message on because you've got to have room for the address on the other side. And your return address on there. So I guess you have a little bit of room on one side, on one half, and the whole back of it.
We were discussing, we were looking at like a 4x6, was it, or 5x7?
Oh, are you gonna use a big one? Okay.
I was thinking, well,
Those are.
I
big.
had in my mind 4x6.
Okay.
But, you know, to your point, had you had something else smaller in mind?
I thought
like
it was gonna be a small postcard,
like a
but
note card?
the larger ones, which I think are larger than 4x6. I'm just looking at what are standard postcard sizes.
I think they're 4x6, 5x7, 6x9. But the postage significantly increases.
Okay, yeah, here's 4x6. Yeah, I don't care whatever size you want to use. That's gonna kind of dictate how much text you're gonna get on there.
Right. Because I do agree with you. You're severely limited on one side
Yeah.
because of just the regulatory stuff that has to go on there.
Yeah,
The
you've got,
political campaign ads that we've recently received, a plethora of, seem to use both sides very effectively.
Most of those are 6x9.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are.
gigantic.
Yeah, I mean, so.
but I think those still go for the postcard rate. So if you want to, that's quite a bit of text, space to fill, I guess, depending on the font size. So
So
someone
when,
would need to come up with a proposed text, I guess. Or
so when thinking about the focus of the agenda, we're agreeing on ARPA, but not to close the door on other comments. How could we have folks or let folks know that we're going to also entertain their other comments about township business?
Open floor comments will be taken. I don't know. if
open
that's the
mic
correct-
night.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the
Open mic
correct
night.
wording or not,
Yeah.
but it's the general idea.
Anybody willing to come up with some proposed language?
Yeah, I'll do it.
I'll work with you, Don.
Are we looking at, how are we looking at printing these?
Yeah, we
you know,
going outside or are we
a-
in-house?
In-house or a Vistaprint or what,
We
what
don't
do
have any way to print postcards, do we, Del? It'd have to be a Vista print. or something like that.
Vistaprint or.
Vistaprint is usually very cost effective too.
Yeah, I would add
Pretty
though,
cheap.
I would add, and I'm not plugging them, but Mitchell Graphics, who has been used by a number of people, I including myself, putting the card together and their postage rate on the card ended up being like 27 cents versus putting a full value stamp on there. So that more than offset any of the design and the production costs. And when I did an analysis for my own use between Vistaprint and what I would have to do versus using somebody like a Mitchell Graphics, it actually became less expensive to use somebody locally like that.
The current postcard rate is 40 cents. So you don't pay the full first class price on that. But yeah, 27 cents is a better deal because they've got bulk mailing.
Yeah, I know the rate's
You get
gone
the
up.
bulk mail
Yeah,
rate.
right.
It's 40 right now for postcards. It just changed recently.
Right. But go ahead.
So then who sorts? Because in order to get that bulk rate, it has to be sorted by zip code. Is that something that Sunberg is also going to do? I'm just
No,
familiar
well,
with this type of project.
Mitchell,
that's all.
at least in my case, Mitchell Graphics, once that file was duped, then in this case, then I would, in just role playing this, I would give that to Mitchell, then they would scrub it one more time for double addresses. And they also do and I can't think of the agency that they use. There is a bulk mailing, I guess, approval that has to be done. And what they strip out of there is any addresses that may not exist in the postal base. And so there is the risk that, a few fall out, but duplicates get taken out. And then there's this affidavit that gets processed that, okay, this list has been scrubbed and approved for the postal service to process as a bulk rate.
Postal Service also does something called box holders. So they do an actual, you can do it through them. Creation of the card, and they print it and they send it out to every box holder in whatever route you want. So instead of getting box holders in Acme because they got a Williamsburg address, because they get delivery, you can tell them I only want these routes out here, and they will hit every box.
That's a good alternative. But I still feel that if we scrub the tax and the parcels, we've got a better starting point than trying to police the postal system.
Yeah, I say you just
Yeah,
use
because you make a
that.
good point because
You're
you don't
gonna
know
get-
where the routes are.
You're gonna get the mailing list from Jim. And then I guess, does Mitchell Graphics create labels or address them?
Yeah, what they
They'll probably
do,
print them
they
right
print them
now.
right on
Print
the
'em right
card.
on, yeah.
Yeah, they print them right on
So
the
that's
card.
taken care of.
Yeah.
So you just need to design the card and then get however many printed that are, and get a few extra printed for here in the township hall if somebody wants to pick up one
Mhm.
or something like that. Yeah.
You're
Lot of
gonna
work.
check with Mitchell Graphics then on pricing. Done.
I need to get an idea of how many pieces we're talking about, at least some approximation. And
Probably at least 1,600, right? Well, because this needs to go out pretty soon, because we're at the 18th of August and we're looking at the September 22nd. So this needs to go out in the next week.
Well, after this meeting, I'll make sure I send my mailing list over to Jim.
I will too.
So you'll have.
I hear you on the week. I just don't know that's, I mean,
Right.
but between putting the artwork together and,
Yeah.
I assume the team's going to want to vet that.
I
And
won't.
okay, so.
There's not enough time for
There,
that.
there really isn't. And I
No.
think we covered the main topics
Right.
of, an explanation of ARPA.
Mhm.
It's a town hall meeting, not a township town hall, just a town hall meeting where time, pre-submit questions to the email address.
And this is at Mill Creek and in the lunch area, the lunchroom area?
No, it'd be in the gym.
In the gym.
It's going to be in the gymnasium. Yep. And then we're going to have some type of open floor comments or open mic or
Mhm.
and about 1,600 pieces.
So
2,000.
if somebody wants to set up the Gmail account, I'm more than happy to get started on the graphics and bounce those off of Heidi as a second set of eyes. And then I'll reach out to Mitchell Graphics and give them a heads up of what we're looking at and just to make sure that they're in no delay where they, if for some reason they say they can't get it for 3 or 4 weeks because of the making something up here, the local political atmosphere, they're backed up on their jobs, then, I'll look at an alternative like Vistaprint or something, but I've got the gist of what needs to go on the card. So I guess the other thing we'll have to speed this up, will be to issue a PO or not to exceed something, just so I can start working underneath this to get Mitchell Graphics moving. So I don't know how the board feels about that. But the longer it takes me to get.
I'll just need the vendor's name and what you're ordering and the approximate cost.
You got something ballpark, Don? For money? Just off the top of your head?
You want to continue discussion for a second? I can look at something here that I might have.
Okay.
Well, you can come up with that. And-
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I think that if we go up to $2,000, it should cover.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, my gosh, that's.
Yeah,
I
so
wrote
we have to
15,
do that.
I wrote
No,
1,000
yeah.
and 1,500.
Yeah,
so-
1,600 pieces at, let's just say 30 cents is,
Right.
Well, tax file is 1,576. That's not including the
Right.
Voter file
voter
is-
registration, so
is
it's gonna be higher
approaching.
than 1,600.
So,
Approaching 2,400, but obviously many duplicate addresses.
yeah, for the sake of this, I'll use 2,000 as a starting point. They can adjust. So when you look at 30 cents on that plus, the postcard, 40 cents, 48 cents to print up. So probably $1,000, maybe less.
Well, there'd be some design fees,
Yes.
setup fees
Yeah,
and stuff like
usually
that.
get- yeah.
About 150
$80 bucks, 80 to 120 probably. So, okay.
So you just want to issue for up to what? Did you say, Heidi, 1,500?
If you go 2, we're gonna come in under budget, so, unless you want to stop the project because you go a little close, I don't know. I thought
2,000 would be a better idea.
It's a round number.
Yeah.
just works.
Yeah. And I wouldn't limit it to just Mitchell Graphics because we may.
Right.
I can come to Cheryl with a request for wireless mic or something like that if we have to buy one. So that'd be outside of that particular PO, unless we just wanted to make a PO for the township hall or the town hall meeting.
You could do that. Is the school charging us anything, any
Well-
cleanup fees or anything?
I think there's a $250 charge. And
For the school.
if Brett offered to waive that, but I thought, you know what, we could potentially track in a lot of stuff and after
They gotta clean it, and they gotta pay somebody to do it.
after the cleanup day debacle,
And the issues that
I
happen?
really
No,
just
no, no.
wanna,
Let's just
I
do
really
what we
want to
need to do.
contribute to the school. I really do.
Yeah, I don't, it's not unreasonable.
Yeah, yeah. And then what about, there's going to be things that come up that we haven't thought about here. I say we just give Don and Heidi a broad brush stroke here to get the media printed and mailed out, right? So if they need to make a decision to go up to the next size or down to the next size, I just say we give them the authority to do that, not coming back to the board.
Yeah,
I
there's
don't
no
have a
time for
problem with
that. No time to come back to the board.
Does that sound reasonable to everybody?
Yeah. I know we're giving them an opportunity to pre-submit their questions, but I think it'd also be a good idea to have something available right there for them to be able to pick up a piece
Oh.
of paper and write down their thoughts about what happened there, or they've come up with a new question. At least it'll be something we can bring back. We may not address it because they're gonna pop it in a box or whatever on the way out. But at least it'll give us an idea of how did this town hall go? What could we have done different that would have been better for them, kind of thing.
Well, usually at an event like that, you have like some 3x5 cards that people can pick up on the way in, and then they
Yep.
write a question down on that. They give it to who's ever wandering around picking those up. And then that gets to, the moderator to ask the question.
Right, but that's for asking questions. I'm talking
Right.
about
Right. I know
maybe
what
they
you're
want to
talking
put in
about.
a comment about the town hall meeting.
I'll make a
Oh,
box.
okay, comment card for afterwards.
Yeah.
I'll make a box. Can I borrow the election pens? Do you have any election pens? Then I wouldn't have to buy any. I'll clean them.
How many pens do you want? 10 or 12 or something?
10 or 12. What do you think, Don? 20?
Or 20 maybe?
I was maybe contemplating some golf course size pencils, buy a box of them for $12 and get 150.
I could
People
do
pick them
that.
up along with the cards and
I'll come up with
one and
something.
done. And I don't really like borrowing from election because that's.
No problem. I was just gonna save some time.
No,
and
no,
money, but
I
get you what
I
you
understand
need.
and I appreciate Cheryl's willingness to share stuff from the election department, but really, that's got its
I
own
think I can
budget.
I think I can buy a whole kit, so don't worry about it. Including a box.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, Don and Heidi. And let us know what it feels like to have a broad brush in your hands.
I'm cheap, so it won't be a problem.
All right. Are we good then with item number 1? On to number 2, boat launch entryway improvement project.
Well, I brought this agenda item to the board last month, well, earlier this month, I guess. And wanting to get this project moving. I don't know if we did, of course, have already a public hearing on this project back in, and the boat wash thing, that's been, one boat wash has been in the project for a very long time. So the comments concerned about one boat wash station, that's been in the project for a long time and was the cost of that taken into consideration. We did have a public hearing on January 12th of 21 on the project, which actually we were not required to have, but we did anyways. And then later in that meeting, we also had where we approved the entire board. It was a unanimous vote to approve the revised Whitewater Township Park boat launch entryway improvement plans. That was on January 12th of 2021. And then we also had a motion that was a unanimous yes vote to proceed to final design, engineering, and permitting. as outlined in the professional services agreement between Whitewater Township and Fleece and Vandenbrink. So, we have signed that boating access site agreement with the Waterways Division of the DNR quite some time back. In fact, just earlier this year, we signed a time extension on that because with COVID and everything, things have gotten delayed. That was originally signed in 2019. Then in 2020, we had COVID, all that. So we're substantially down the road on this project. We have talked about a second boat wash station. I don't think that the funds for that wasn't included in the original cost estimate. I don't think the funds for that should come from the park. I'm sure and just to back up one step, we already have taken $20,000 from Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians. I wrote that 2% grant, I don't know, quite some time back. And we were awarded $20,000 towards the boat wash station. The tribe is very interested in having a boat wash station at, now that was the waterless boat wash station at Whitewater Township Park. And we had a question earlier in the week about usage of the boat launch. And so Dan and Peggy, park rangers, were able to come up with a document that I asked them to put these figures together and provided a copy to the board. And there's a public copy over on the thing there over on the table. And the first sheet is daily usage for 2019, 2020, and 2021. So you've got the month of June, tells how many days. So we have, just so people know, just quickly, we have daily passes for people who just come in to boat for the day. We have after hours passes for mostly fishermen who come in before the ranger station opens, maybe after the ranger station closes. That is the same price as the daily boat pass. We have camper boat passes. So they pay a price if they stay, their stay is 1 to 7 nights, they have a price they pay. If their stay is 8 to 14 nights and they have a boat, obviously they're going to launch more times. So we have double that fee. And then we have the annual resident and non-resident passes that people buy. So and we had an increase in for all these 3 years, 19, 20, and 21, the cost of all those boat passes remained the same. And then this year we had an increase, but we don't have our 2022 data in here. But you can see from this what the daily averages are for the month of June, the month of July, the month of August, and then September only through Labor Day. And so as with anything with averages, there are days that there's not, there's certain days that just aren't boating days. So we don't sell any passes those days. And then there's other days that we'll sell. I can remember one year selling up to 100 passes on one day. But generally it's in the 60 some range, something like that. And then of course, and so with the daily passes, that's in and out that day. With the camper passes, that's as many times as they decide to go boating during the length of their stay. And with the seasonal passes, they're in the park for 67 nights is the seasonal camping experience. And so, of course, they launch as many times as they want to, maybe even more than once a day. So these are some totals for those, how many of those we've sold. So there is a lot of usage of the boat launch. And with that usage comes the wear and tear on the launch that has taken place. There hasn't been anything done with the launch since 1998. And there is, it's not just the dock. The dock is getting to be in bad shape. It's had a lot of boats hit it. And even had a trailer on top of it last year. The planks are sinking. especially on the south side of the launch. So we've got maintenance there. And we really do need, and somebody said it's a 1-lane ramp. It's not a 1-lane ramp, it's a 2-lane ramp currently. So the proposal has been, and here again, the plans have already been approved, to widen the launch enough to have a second dock in there so that launching and retrieving of boats during the high traffic times especially, but even when it's not high traffic, there can be 3 or 4 boaters down there, can get in and out of the water quicker. I know exactly what Carl Rubel is talking about with getting pontoon boats out. The wind does come down Elk Lake at quite a clip on windy days. And I've seen many pontoon boats have trouble getting out. Generally, the pontoon boats on windy days, they want to be on the south side, on the north side of the dock so that they can't float away from the dock. They are going to be bumping up against the dock, keeping them from floating away and controlling the direction of their boat so they can get it on their trailer. It's a trick to get pontoon boats on the trailer, as anybody who has a pontoon boat knows. But so we are well down the path of this project, and the big thing is that yes, costs have gone up as they've gone up for everything. There are no construction management costs in this agreement. Fleece and Vandenberg does not intend to construction manage this project. It's to be put out for bid for hopefully a general contractor who will oversee the entire thing. But we've talked about putting a bid out and doing it in stages too. So actually, when you look at the cost, the original cost was the $400,000. And when you look at the estimate of cost, and I don't remember what the original contingency was, but the estimate has only gone up about 20%. And then now a 20% contingency has been added on to it. So, and these other things, these additional items, the second boat wash station and the ranger station are not included in the project. Those are separate things that were going to be done. They are not part of this whole, yes, do we need a ranger station? Yes, I think the tribe will help us out a little bit there. There may be some other grants available, as I mentioned in my email or my memo. There's lots of new grant opportunities coming out, especially with the state. And we're likely going to be, and we're kind of shovel ready to apply for those grants because we've got the plans. The engineering has been done. The design is done. And I fully agree with the whole boat wash concept of, to protect the lake from invasive species. And this is the biggest launch on Elk Lake. There are 4 other launches that access Elk Lake, of course. So I don't know if those are going to get boat washes or not. But, you've got Skegmog, you've got one up on the northeast side. You've got the Elk River Marina. And I'm trying to remember what and Milton's Waterfront Park. So those are the other 4 that launch directly, with the exception of one that launches on Skegmog. So, but we are the biggest launch. And yes, we do want to, of course, the lake is a beautiful lake. Thousands of people come here every year to go to Elk Lake. It's a public lake. We're a public access. It's not a private lake. So that lake belongs to the people of the state of Michigan. And we have a duty, I agree that we have a duty to do what we can to keep invasive species out of the lake. I think mainly that's education, helping with education of the public and providing a boat wash and maybe 2 boat washes. But here again, I don't see that the second boat wash, it's not part of the original project. And so also I want to explain what I had in the packet about the money that is available through the park fund, which again is not one dime of taxpayer money. It's all user fees. And of course, we've been being frugal out there with improvements, doing improvements, but all the while knowing that this was the big improvement that needed to take place out there, because it has been 24 years since anything has been done with that launch. That launch is a huge asset of Whitewater Townships, and it has to be maintained. It just has to be maintained for the benefit of our public and the benefit of the other boating public that comes here. But I had mentioned about the park having $327,000 in its cash account, and that's not counting the money market funds. If you'll notice, that's at the end of March 2022. So those are funds that we have. It's well over the $200,000 that we originally committed to the project.
What page is that on in our packet?
4 in my memo on page 4, and it's let's see, 1, 2, 3, about the 5th paragraph down, not counting the links in there. But so to let you know, that was the park fund cash account balance as of the end of March. And the
I
reason
don't see it in this packet. I'm sorry.
page 4 of the packet
Page 4 of the packet.
is my memo
Dated 8/4/22.
Okay.
dated 8/4/22, and then 1, 2, 3, skipping the, it'd be 2 paragraphs beyond the links.
Starts with originally.
Originally, the park fund was going to contribute
Okay.
200, yeah.
Got it.
And then as of the end of March, the park fund had slightly over $327,000 in its cash account. Okay, and we did budget $240,000 towards this project in this fiscal year, with the understanding that likely the entire project would not be completed in the current fiscal year, which ends March 31st of next year. So pulling a cash balance report from the treasurer's office as of the end of July. So just to back up a little, I purposely did not include any revenue from this year, from the park from this year, because I didn't want to get that commingled with the money that the park had before the season even started and before the fiscal year even started. So as of the end of July, the park fund cash account has in it, again, this is not including the 18.4 that we have in money market funds, was $406,171 and some change. So, but those are really the over this 327,000, that's operating capital revenue that the park has to pay for payroll and the expenses of operating the park for this year. So I just wanted to point that out, that the park definitely has the money that it agreed to contribute plus some to this project. So in my opinion, we've signed this boating access agreement. We have a contract with the state. We need to get all or part of this project out for bid so that something can happen out there yet this fall. And as far as the parking area, yeah, that can be worked on ahead of even the boat launch. And, we could get that done, but right now everybody is finding a parking place out there, albeit not in the parking lot on the heavy boating days, because we do ask campers to take their boat trailers back to their campsite to free up the parking lot for the daily boaters who come in. That's really a pain for them to do that because it leaves their boat at the dock longer than it needs to be. So it would be handy if we had this additional parking that that everybody, we can get into parking places and we don't have people parking off to the side in the dump station area and off to the side on the road going down to the ramp and the road coming up from the ramp. We do stress to people that have to do that. If you go down there, you don't find a boat trailer parking place, please make sure you get your vehicle, all the tires of your trailer off the road so that it doesn't impede the passage of emergency services vehicles that might need to go down there. But here again, if they were in parking spaces, we wouldn't have to worry about that. So there's days that we have 45 boat trailer parking places down there, counting the 2 handicap spots. So 43 for the general public. And there's days that we sell more than 43 boat passes. This is a public launch. People have a right to go down there and launch. And
How many
so
bass
we have
tournaments do you
always
have?
accommodated them.
How many bass tournaments do you have? Or
We
fish
have 2 or
tournaments?
3 a year usually. Yeah. And we try, the bass fishermen don't like this at all, but we really restrict the bass fishermen to June and September. Because in July and August, the boat launch parking lot tends to be full. We want those spaces for our daily boat traffic. As you know, the bass fishermen go out very early in the morning, like 7 o'clock, they're launching. And I mean, they're leaving the dock at 7 o'clock, so they're there before that. And if we were to allow them in July and August, our daily boaters would show up and there wouldn't be much left for parking places. Because it just depends. Some of the fishing tournaments are only maybe 20, 25 boats. Others are 70 to 80 boats. And so, like I say, we're not popular with the bass fishing organizations because we try to not have those tournaments in July and August. But certainly they, have a right to use the lake too. And they can't all park over at the Skegumog. Some do park over at Baggs Landing and and then they have to drive across the lake for the start. But so I'd like to see this project move forward. I know Rick and Andrew, I think, have some comments. They're here from Fleece and Vandenbrink. And I'm just pushing to get this project out for bid. It's not really, we have this contract with the state. I don't think we should be even talking about dissolving this contract with the state. We have the opportunity to have up to $200,000 as it stands today to go into this project. And as also I mentioned in the memo, we've got a little over 16,000 already. I'm going to submit to get that back. I just checked with the representative on how I go about doing that. So that's some more money that's coming back to the park for this project. So I don't think it's a lack of funds on the part of the park in getting this project underway. I just think we need to get it moving.
Board?
Quick details that Cheryl, one of the comments was about the length of the launch. The plans currently, the dock is intended to be 10-foot additional length and the planks also additional 10-foot length further out into the water. 10 feet.
10 feet.
The current dock is about 35 feet and the same with the planks under the wall, under the water. Go out to 45 feet for the planks and the dock also be 45 feet in length. So it's also slightly deeper, about 6 inches deeper than currently out at about the 20-foot mark. So again, trying to accommodate bigger boats. Been kind of worked into the scope and again, the entire ramp is basically pretty much aligns with the DNR Lower Peninsula standards for ramp design.
Cheryl, I've got a couple questions. You said an awful lot there and soliloquy. The data that you passed out this morning, I'll come back to that in a second. So as the new guy here and not having access to any of the 2019 meeting packets and agendas.
Sure.
So was there a data-based projection of validation for this project, or was this all observational? And that what was the analysis done in 2019 that said, yes, $400,000 would be a good investment based on these reasons? Yeah, and
I don't
guess,
remember exactly what we used. I know how the project got started was that I was approached by a Fleece and Vandenbrink representative. Do you guys have any projects that you're thinking about doing? And I said, yes, let's meet at the boat launch and the park. And there's some things that need to be updated down there. It's more of a need to maintain the launch and make sure that it's safe for the public than anything else. And that was the reason also for the entryway part of the project, is that right now, as you know, out there currently, you have all of the traffic converging into one intersection. And so what you have when it's a very busy time for camper check-ins, you have boats waiting behind camper check-ins. And the road is so narrow right there that a car can get around a big camper checking in, but someone with a boat trailer doesn't want to try and get around that. It's really not safe. And so that's why we want to have boaters not wait. We can sell them passes ahead of time, or they can buy them at a little kiosk or whatever. And so it has to do, yes, with a lot of observation. I don't remember what data we provided back then. I can look that up for you. But it was more of a need to upgrade the launch, accommodate the increased volume of, we know we have an increased volume of boats out there. And and we have the safety issues. So it's from those aspects that we looked at the whole project.
okay, so let's hold that thought for a moment. I'm going
Sure.
to come back to that because I do have a couple questions on that.
Sure.
So going forward, so the data that was provided, you said Peg and Dan did this.
Mhm.
So at the header, it's a 2019, 2020, 2021.
Mhm.
And so when you say that June's number, 824, that's the average of 2019, 20, and 21?
That's the total number of boat pass, of just daily boat passes in June of those three years. Because we had an email, we were
So
asked to come
total,
up with some
total for
daily
3 years.
of just daily boat passes. So we sell several different kinds of boat passes.
So, okay, so the daily boat passes, if you add those numbers up, are 4,332. So in 3 years, the total daily boat passes have been 4,322.
Which numbers did you add up?
I took the 824, the 1772, 1543, and the 183,
And what'd you say those add up to?
4,322.
4,322.
So,
Okay, so yes, those are the number of daily boat passes that were sold in those 3 years. Just daily boat
cumulative.
passes. Yes,
um,
those are people who just come in, boat for the day and leave. That isn't
and
camper.
being the first time that I've seen this data
Yeah.
and not having context around it,
Right.
those numbers inherently seem extremely low. And so I'd have to take a look, and I'll reserve further comment. I thank you for explaining that to me because I need to understand what I'm looking at.
Right.
But comparatively to other boat launches, that would be an evaluation that I would want to see to say, okay, what does it? I want to go on record right now and say that, number one, I am 100% behind a refurbishment or remodeling. I agree with a lot of comments, especially Carl Robel. I think that that dock needs to be replaced.
Mhm.
I think that it needs to be extended. I believe that the concrete slabbing that's under the water seems to be failing in some parts. I'm not an engineer. I would think that there has to be a little more study on that, but enlarging and lengthening those planks underneath there would seem like a project. And when you look at the project of redoing the existing facility, both above water and underwater, extending the dock, putting in possibly a staging dock where people could launch and wait there for while somebody else retrieves or places a vehicle, seems to make a lot of sense. Boat wash, minimum one. I still think that the number's 2, but that's up for discussion and needs to be on the inbound. And F&V, we asked them to show that on the inbound, and that did not get changed in the revised drawing. So that's still an objection that I have on this. So I'm on record saying, look, I think there's a scaled down project here. You were just talking earlier of things of why going around when campers are coming in and why all these other things are needed. I know you put out late last night a phased project of 3 parts. And yet, we've talked in this room that it's really not a phased project. It's all, these components are all needed in order to make this work. You're looking at currently under today's cost estimate, $660,000 and some change, not including the $52,000 that F&B has been contracted for on that. That's not reflected anywhere. It was on the first quote and it's been stripped out. So now we're over $700,000. And so it is a project that is ballooning in cost. Even if you did phase it in, which I'm against, you're just kicking the can down the road for parts 2 and 3 to continue to rise in costs. It seems to me that there is a smaller project here that we can accomplish to continue to serve the park for the next 20 or 25 years by spending the water-based grant money to do the work at the existing dock and try to make it even a little wider if necessary if we're going to tear everything out. So I have lots and lots of other questions, but those would be my immediate comments to.
So if I can just respond to your boat launch usage thing. We have the 4,322 that you've added up, but then on the next page, we have the seasonal camper usage. So seasonal campers, there's been 337 seasonal camper permits in those 3 years, and they can launch as many times as they want to for 67 days. So there's 2 months. So those, we don't know, we don't have data on how many times they launch, and then also you've got the camper boat passes. There's been 1,539 of those. And those again are good for either a 1 to 7 day period of time or an 8 to 14 day period of time. So the number of launches, we don't keep that data either. How many times did they launch during their up to 7 day stay? How many times did they launch during their 14-day stay? So that's the limitation of these numbers. There's lots of boat launching going on down there. And so, and it has taken its toll on the whole facility down there. Yeah. So, but we need to, and as I say, I think these cost estimates are a little high. You don't really know what it's going to cost until you actually get it bid out. And so the board can get this thing bid out either in phases or as a total project and find out what really is the cost. These are estimates. Estimates are estimates, just like our budget. Estimates are estimates. That's all we can go on. And so I think that's why we do need to get this bid out, but we need to get it bid out consistent with the contract that we have with Waterways. We can't just go changing the scale of this project without consulting with Waterways and making sure that they're okay with that. because we have a contract with them. So for the project, as the plans were revised, the revised plans in January of 2021, those are the plans that we're dealing with. And yes, I don't remember now, and the boat wash station is on those plans. It's planned to be at the dump station where there's level ground, where none of that water is going to reach, none of the water or any of what comes off boats is going to reach the waters of Elk Lake. As you know, when you go out there, as soon as you go past where the dumpsters are, it is all downhill to the water. So all the water that sheds off that parking lot is going into Elk Lake, or those retention ponds that are right there, and that's why they're there. So putting, and I agree with having the boat wash somewhere where they can use it on their way in. Where is the best place to do that? We know we would, the most feasible, the most convenient place for the boaters is, they come in, they get their pass, and they go right by the boat wash station. So where are you going to put that it's a right-hand turn in and a right-hand turn out for them, so it doesn't create a traffic jam, that they can get in and out and get their boat washed?
That was the whole idea of having them put on the prints.
Well, it's already on the prints, the approved prints. It's in the boat wash state. It's in the dump station.
Okay.
So but that's where it was all agreed that it was going to be back in January of 2021.
Because
So-
we didn't know any better.
Well,
Now we
okay,
do.
I get it, but I'm
And
just telling you that, do you want to put it, we're gonna have to.
I'm ready to vote.
We're gonna back up some things maybe
If
to.
this is how the
because it-
conversation is gonna
Excuse
go.
me, I'm talking. Excuse
okay.
me, I try not to interrupt you. It's gotta be in some level area so that that water isn't going into the lake, because that's the whole point of it, that water isn't going into the lake.
So
I'm just making
Cheryl,
sure finished. That's
Yeah,
all.
I'm sorry.
I have a couple questions. The boat wash is gonna be by your dump station.
Well, that's where we initially
I
put
get
it.
it. Let me finish.
Sure.
So how are you going to keep have you thought about the flow that's gonna cause? I hate to tell you, but dumping a gigantic RV takes a while. So you're gonna have somebody dumping a camper and people washing boats. You got enough room to do that where your dump station
Well,
is?
there's not always, we've got 2 lanes over there. So, but I agree that the boat wash station, that the boat wash it's not ideal to have it at the dump station, because that's a lot of crisscrossing of traffic on that road. I would look to F&B for their advice, maybe on where we could put the boat wash station, an inbound boat wash station that would, that's a better idea than the dump station. I don't know if they have one, but.
Well, we did ask that idea.
Let me back up. Part of this process started with a park master plan prior to a grant application in 2019. The first location that we proposed for the boat wash was where there's an existing trailer parking area that's grassed right now.
Yeah.
There's a couple, that was the initial location that we were recommending. Through the process, we had, I think, maybe 3 public sessions as part of the master plan. Then as part of the evolution of it, because of the amount of boaters that were campers and whatnot, the expansion of the dump station was viewed as probably the most viable location, and it isn't expanded with. I think I mentioned to you, Don, that there is also a possibility, well, more possibility, the DNR is promoting a Spark grant program that is going to be coming out in November for additional monies available would also be a very likely scenario of, like you said, addressing the financial growth of, can you piggyback the waterways grant again with the Spark grant and get the grand vision done all at once would be a real possibility. But back to what I think some of the comments about what infrastructure has to be done. Again, it's as simple as really keeping waterways informed. If we want to make some modifications, obviously they're the final authority that signs off on if we do some scalability. That's really we have to go back to waterways and just verify what they would allow, but that's definitely a possibility.
Okay, I have another question. We have right next to that, the boat launch that exists now are two pipes that come out. I would imagine they're for fire safety. What are we doing about that? Because if we got to get that water out of there, we got to get the water out of there. Are they used? Are they not used?
Those have been abandoned.
Abandoned.
The fire department doesn't use those anymore. And also, I would just piggyback on what Rick said. There was the thought of, yes, I had forgotten that there was the thought of using that additional parking lot that's on the south side of Park Road. And that could still be the place where you put the boat wash. So for instance, they wash their boat before they even enter the park. Before they even go past and pay to use the
Probably a better
launch.
idea.
And so, but then, of course, then that means that the additional parking lot that's planned becomes all that much more important to have. Because we do have campers who, for instance, they don't want their boat on their site. We don't allow overnight parking in the boat launch because that could turn into a camping situation, which is not allowed by the state. And so we do have people whose site isn't big enough for their RV or tent or whatever in their boat, or else they just don't want it on their site. And they use that additional parking. That's a first come, first served place for them to leave their boat trailer down there. And also sometimes when guests are there, we only allow 2 cars to a site. And if they've got some visitors or something, then they need to park down there. So we need the additional parking. Now, as far as turning that additional parking that's already existing into a boat wash station, I don't know why we couldn't do that. I'm not convinced that we need the hot water boat washing station, because that's going to require getting hot water over there. But you know, the one that's off the grid is still a good boat wash station. In fact, that's the one that the tribe gave us the $20,000 towards.
Okay,
Just
so
if I may,
go ahead.
regarding Sparks and additional grants, I'm not sure I want to hand tie all of our other recreational venues. I'm not sure I want to eliminate their ability to apply for those upcoming grants and focus just on the boat ramp. So I know that I was a proponent, and as a matter of fact, I spoke about additional grants to try and finish this project, even expanding this project to include the road. So I did like that idea, but I don't want to eliminate High Prey Park, which we also have a plan for, which is currently shovel ready. I'm sure we'd have to dust it off, and we know that we've got issues there at High Prey Park as well. So
Can I just have a question. You said it's shovel ready. What plan are you referring to? Just refresh my memory.
It's the one that's still posted there on the cork board in the lower right-hand corner.
How is that shovel ready?
Well, it's a pretty complete plan if you look at it.
It's never been surveyed. It's never been mapped out. It's never been cost out. That makes it shovel ready.
Okay,
You know,
so
so
then we
I'm
need a
saying it's
survey down
not-
at the park. Is that right?
I'm sorry, say again.
We need a survey down at the park.
Well, we do have people that own property right up against where we have park materials and
Sure.
fencing and if we're talking about the walking trail, which is something that people keep saying they want
Right.
down there, you have to decide where that's gonna go. And when you look at that plan was actually drawn out by, I think, kids.
An
Well,
architect's got his name on it,
Their
so
suggestions went into it.
Yeah.
But
at any
So,
rate, that's
I mean,
off the
don't get
top.
me wrong, Ron, I would love to be able
Yeah.
to put a walking trail down there.
I
I think
just-
it would go well with what we're already doing down there, but I don't agree that it's shovel ready.
Okay,
And I would just add, I don't think we should in any manner assume that we can only apply for one Sparks grant. To me, if you've got projects that are ready with all your information and they're ready to go, we can apply for 3 or 4 of them. That, I don't see, as far as I know, there's no limitation. is
Well,
there?
there's also 3 rounds of the
Yeah.
Spark grant.
Right,
One likely in December, one likely in March,
Yeah.
and one likely in July.
right,
There's also the normal rounds of the trust fund.
Yeah.
And passport for smaller projects and land and water conservation, April 1.
yeah, that's right.
So in lieu of, on top of Spark, so there's a lot
Yeah.
more money
Sure.
available for recreation than there's ever been.
Yeah, exactly.
But like you said, you gotta approach it strategically. With all those things in mind and kind of pick and choose which projects fit the best, I call them priorities or scoring evaluation. So you've got to
Right.
keep that in mind as well.
Right.
I have another question. I don't care why we abandon the fire safety apparatus. But since we're 55 square miles and we have limited resources at that point for fire, don't you think maybe we ought to figure out how to calculate maybe either fix it, move it, a new one? Because Whitewater Township is kind of centrally located to all the fire departments. And if somebody was coming from Elk Rapids, they don't have water, they might be able to refuel and help put the fire out somewhere in our community, 55 square miles again. Just a thought. It's a safety factor. We took it away. We took it away because why? It was broken?
On the chief's request,
Because it was broken?
because they have a different method for obtaining water.
I'm gonna look into that.
I'm sorry, what? I didn't
I
hear
said, I'm gonna look into that because broken in another way could be. the
There's
same
another
thing.
one that's in the same condition off Skegamog Point, and the chief did not want to continue, did not want to get those repaired because they use something called a turbo draft to get water out of bodies of water around here. They can get it out of a creek.
I'm
They can
gonna-
get it,
I'm gonna
they can
look
get it
into
from
that,
the
Cheryl.
hydrants as well.
Mhm.
The probably best thing, just talk to the chief about it, because he,
Yep.
Yeah,
you know,
He's the
I'm gonna
one.
defer to his expertise. on
Well,
this.
so am I, but you know, if it was there,
I'd like to
central
come,
It's old
location.
technology is what it
Well,
was.
if it's old, okay, this is new, so let's put whatever we need, the new technology in there. I have to see what he needs to do. Maybe they've come so far in fire that it just comes right off the truck, sucks the stuff up and goes, so you could go to somebody's swimming pool and suck it up. I don't know, haven't researched that. So
I'm going to
I
come
will
back
research
around. I'm going to say again, I'm supportive of a scaled down project. Cheryl, taking into account the extra numbers that you gave me, which you pointed out, thank you, the resident, non-resident, 67 days. So we
Yeah.
don't know specifically how many times that resident is using those, and then the camper boat passes, depending on the length of time.
yeah,
And I know it's more than one, but it's probably less than 67. So
oh, sure,
so
yeah.
so now when you look at, okay, approximately 6,000 boat launches, and that I will acknowledge that's going to be slightly higher based on the seasonal, but how much I think is negligible. If I take 100 days, if I take June, July, August, and 15 days of September, that's more than 100, but even being generous at 100, that still only averages 20 launches a day. And I'm just having such a hard time. I can't connect between spending $500,000 of the township money plus $200,000 of the waterway for $700,000 for 20 launches a day. I just, it doesn't, the mathematically, it's just a weak argument.
But, you know, if you're just looking at averages, I see what you're saying, but you're really not. You're looking at heavily trafficked days, and then you're looking at days where nobody goes out because it's raining. So
Correct.
it's not fair to say straight across the board average, this is what you got to look at and only at that. This weekend is going to be a beautiful weekend. People are getting their last summers in. I invite you to go down and spend time at the boat launch this weekend, starting Friday. And I think you will see the unsafe conditions that are down there now and what they're dealing with, what they're actually dealing with. What I'm saying, Don, is go experience it before you just say, oh, well, it averages out to 20 a day and that's no big deal. That's not the truth. That's not the whole truth.
I politely, I would ask you, don't assume that I haven't looked at it.
Have you?
So yes, I have.
Okay,
please-
so you know the
But
problem.
I also say that I don't know that on a busy Saturday or a busy Sunday, that people going there don't have some expectation that there's going to be a little bit of delay to get in there. I do agree with you on the safety side of it, but I also think that there's problems today with the existing configuration, which I'm completely in support of redoing something more modern to handle. We can probably even make the lanes a little wider. And if we need 2 staging docks, then maybe that's the answer. But it's a far cry less than $700,000 to solve a intermittent problem.
But I'm wondering, to Cheryl's point, how do we really know what this project's going to be unless we get it bid out? That's right. All these are is estimates, Don. We don't know what it's really going to be. What's it going to cost this township to get some real numbers? And do you really want to cut a project off before you get those real numbers? Or would you rather have real life numbers to look at and say, okay, it's what we thought, it's too much, or it's not what we thought. And by the way, now that we have these real numbers, these adjustments we want to make, here's what we know it's going to cost us to make.
So,
that's
I
all
don't
I'm
want to put words in your mouth, but I'm trying to understand then why F&V then putting together projected cost estimates? They're building projects day in and day out. They're not a mom and pop shop.
Sure.
I mean, they are well versed through a multitude of projects and probably have as best cost analysis based on projects that they're doing today, even if they're not exactly apples to apples. You have to defer to their credibility and to their ability to put together something that says, look, it's not going to be 400,000. It's significantly north of that. And so, I happen to say, that I would give them some benefit of the doubt in their credibility.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they don't run every business out there. People looking for business may not be bidding as high as what they've estimated. They're going to estimate high. Perfect example would be what we came across for cleanup of Battle Creek Natural Area. Look at the bid variation. One vendor's bidding out 30,000, another's 150,000. Do you see my point here, Don? You don't know until you put the bid process out there what it's really going to come in at. And my only point is what's it going to hurt to put the bids out to find out what the actual cost is going to be? To me, that's not a big gamble to find out what is actually the cost going to be. So you can tell the people of Whitewater Township it was not cost effective, or it is. But if you never go out for bid, you don't have that data. You have maybe it was going to cost us. That's all I'm saying, Don.
I understand that point. I'm sorry, Tom. But the design as it stands does not meet our new education level as of today. It did originally, but it doesn't any longer. And so I can't send something out to bid that I know I'm not going to build. nor do I
Well,
want to build it.
Wouldn't you make the changes before you go out to the bid?
So I've personally asked for that. I know that we've had lots of public asking for that. That's where I'm at with this project.
What needs to be on there that's not on there? The boat wash station in a different location? What else?
Well, as I've asked Rick several times, 20 feet into the water, we're still at a maximum of 2 foot 6 inches deep. Now, if you think your pontoon boat trailer is about 12 inches tall, which it's probably taller than that, the back of your vehicle is going to be flooded by the time we can actually, no?
There's two types of pontoon boat trailers.
Okay,
The ones you can go rent and you can buy that are low and you slide under you. You can bring your pontoon boat right up to shore, slide that thing under, crank it up, pull it out, and then you take it home and drop it down the road. Take the trailer back. The other is the V-bump trailer. which
that's the
is
one I was
what
envisioning.
I have now, and that is quite high, and I swear I have to back that thing almost to the end of the dock. So I have this much of my boat where you can hold it. Somebody's got to hold the strings.
Right.
And that's just because the water's shallow there. So then I pulled up a little bit, pulled the car up a little bit and keep pulling out now another 10 feet. I'd rather see another 5 minutes.
I was gonna say, I'm
But
thinking
10 feet's gonna
15.
make it, so my boat will hit the side here and that blow down there. And then I should be able to get it started on. That will work, but there are two types of trailers.
And there is 12 feet of concrete behind the docks with the stop yet. So you could still put a 10-foot,
Right.
10 to 12 feet behind there, and the tires are never gonna get there because they're not the tails of these
Correct.
trailers. So even a 30-foot boat is still gonna back in without modifying the concrete other than leveling, because it does have some drops, as you mentioned.
Yeah, it does. And that was,
Is not as big a problem. You have to.
but at 20
If it's
feet,
windy, it's just gonna blow right down the end of the lake. 'Cause
at 20 feet in from the water's edge, we're still only 2 foot 6 deep. Okay, so our 24-foot trailer is arguably how long? 28 feet?
And the bigger.
28 to 30.
Okay, so again, the back of our vehicle is in the water significantly.
I mean, most of them right now, you're in, but if you had the dock where you could float it back further.
Sure.
Let it glide off and not have it go sideways.
Yep.
That's the big rub for like this gentleman and some of the
Happened
people
to
with
me
larger
yesterday.
boats. When you get it off there and you have a crosswind, it's gonna be around the other dock.
I
Yeah.
almost went around yesterday.
And so I like your idea of the longer dock because although I've never measured how far the concrete planking goes out, it's quite a ways beyond it. And so that solves our maintenance issue, and why we haven't done maintenance on the dock in 24 years is another question that should be answered. Because in 24 years, I would expect to have to fix something. But so once again, I think that our 4 lanes is not going to help people back their trailer up. I think it's going to cause traffic confusion. And so I'm for fixing the problems and updating what is there. And I'm definitely for a new parking area. I'm definitely for a boat wash station on the inbound that you collect the fee to launch your boat after the boat wash station. So the attendant can easily see that that boat has been washed. So
I would invite the board to go out there about between 5 and 7 PM on a busy day when the boaters are coming off the lake. And there's 20 boats out there waiting to come in. I've seen that many times. I'm sure Scott and Shannon have seen it. more
Cheryl,
than
I
have.
waited
Excuse me,
yesterday.
seeing see it more than I am because they're seasonal campers at the park. But there's definitely times when there's a line waiting to launch. And there's definitely times, and you know, sometimes you have the weather come up, bad weather come up, and there are a lot of people are waiting to get off the lake. They're sitting out there in their boat and they can't get out of the water fast enough. And that's really the times when, for safety purposes, we need the 4 launches so that people can be getting out twice as fast as they are right now and not sitting. I mean, when there's 20 boats out there, you're gonna sit out on the water for an hour before you're gonna get up to the dock. I've seen it happen. I've been out there many times in the evenings on 4th of July and some of these busier days, Harbor Days weekend. You know, anytime the park is full, because of course you're not seeing, you can see that the boat lot's full, but there's also 30 campers in the park that are out on their boats and their trailer is back at their boat lot. The 4 ramps, you know, Elk Rapids went to 4 ramps a number of years ago, and it has greatly increased the efficiency of that launch up there. Of course, people are getting on the bay up there, but when they redid their boat launch, that greatly increased the efficiency of launching and retrieving of boats. And that's something that doesn't come up every day, but when it does, it's real important to get boats out of the water. They're sitting out there, you know, as a lightning target and everything else. And it's not quick to get to any other, they can't even go to another launch because their tow vehicle is at our facility.
And my final comment is Meyer has 22 lanes. I've never, ever seen all 22 lanes open.
Well, all 4 lanes will be open.
And how long have you stood in the back when there's a row in front of you?
Sometimes, yeah.
And very frustrated.
Sometimes, yep.
And then frustrated.
Yep.
Just like this, it's random times.
Yep.
It's
That's
not
right.
every single day.
Right.
But if you're there on the 4th of July and there's not a piece of ground to park a truck, a trailer, or anything in there, and the campground, and then
I'm with you on the parking.
and then you add the alcohol factor, and it a lot of times happens down there. And
I'm not going to
it's-
design a project for illegal
No,
activities.
No, not at all, but it creates situations.
Understood. And I'm all for the parking, all for the parking.
Well, I had a motion in the packet here, and
I'm just gonna make my comments now. I used the launch a couple times this year. My husband doesn't like driving down a dirt road with clean vehicles. So therefore, we don't use the launch much. We did use it yesterday. Parking was fully available. We launched about 2:30. We had little issues because it was very windy. Thus, nobody was there. We should have thought about that before we paid our $8. But we thought, oh, we'll try it. Launching, I can't be a lot of help right now with 1 foot, but launching was okay. I held the boat there with, you know, didn't have much of a problem. Coming in, we decided, oh, about 5 o'clock we'd go in. So we pulled up. There was I think there was 1 boat there. So my husband said, do you want to go home yet? I said, no, let's go. So we just took a cruise. We just keep driving around till we're able to take the boat out. It didn't seem to bother us. But here's what really bothers me. Where the heck is the DNR? Because every time I go out on that lake, I have yet to see them. And when I used to have a house on the river and went out to a extremely large lake, I couldn't get rid of them. They were everywhere, which was great. But to go on that whole lake yesterday and see 0 And we were out there from 2 to 5:30 and we just kept going around and around and around. Where are they? Just out of curiosity. I have yet to see, I've seen a DNR guy one time and that was the 4th of July. So if you want to talk about discipline on the lake or disciplining your situation, maybe we ought to ask where they are. And I'm totally in agreement of taking a better look at this project. I think we're missing a lot of information. Our infrastructure is kind of cracked. We need to fix the infrastructure before we start making things look super pretty.
In answer to Heidi's question about who patrols the lake, the DNR does not patrol the lake. It's the sheriff's department.
So
Has
the
a marine
DNR
patrol.
doesn't work with them? In
Well, I don't know what
Wisconsin,
their
the DNR
interaction
works
is.
with
All I
them.
can tell you
I'll
is
find that out too.
in all my years out there, I've only ever seen sheriff's marine patrol boats come occasionally. And they're spread very thin in Grand Traverse County. There's a lot of water around here. So,
I'd agree with that, Cheryl. I've only seen sheriffs out there.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
only place
Yeah,
I've
there are
ever
no-
seen
I
a
don't think the
DNR
DNR
guy
has
is
to
at the parking lot checking license plates.
So what are the items that need to change on the plan before this can be put out for bid? I mean, movement of a boat wash station to the inbound side? Is that it? What else needs to change on the plan?
Is this a one-person project, Cheryl? Just you and a couple people in the park? Or does the Pratt see this? Or have you thought about a subcommittee?
Well, I'm asking the board because the board
And
are the
I'm asking
ultimate
the question.
deciders of the project. The Parks and Rec Committee has not been super involved in this project. They support the project. They know some of them are boaters, at least at least 2 of them are boaters. They know that we need to get this launch upgraded. It's been a long time since anything's been done out there. So I'm just asking what the board, what we've heard that there's deficiencies in the plan. So what are the deficiencies?
I'll address my thoughts on that. I want to
Okay.
see a scaled back project. I want to see just not an additional 2 ramps, see the retooling of the existing, tear out the existing dock, lengthen it, fix the concrete slabs, planks underneath there, extend those out as necessary. Look at the ability to put in some staging docks, at least 1, possibly 2, if it'll fit. I would support the additional parking that Ron has mentioned as well, and the boat wash station being moved to the inbound. Project is just over the top at least at this moment projected at 700,000, and I just can't support it. I can support a scaled down project to see what that looks like and how that qualifies for waterway grant money.
And I would like to see at least 1 handicap spot parking for boaters.
There's already 2.
Where are they, Cheryl? Because I walked around that whole place yesterday and I didn't see handicap anything. All I saw was the sheriffs. Are they somewhere
No,
else?
not even going up that far.
Oh, they're not
Immediately
going.
right there to
immediate?
your right.
Okay, I didn't look there. I just looked at all the parking spots.
And
I
so-
apologize.
Those have trailer
Mhm.
sites?
You're not gonna put a 30-footer in there. but,
See, so I was thinking,
You
would
talking-
you just make 1 long one? Because what if somebody's handicapped and they,
It could be longer.
you have that launch, what's the launch off of Bags Road? They have 2 handicap signs, maybe even 3. I'd have to look.
So Don, if I can just ask you, you want to only leave in one part of your comments, you said only 1 dock, but then you said 1 to 2 staging docks.
Yeah, the dock going out,
Mhm.
and being the on and offload. If somebody pulls up, creating along the shoreline, another ancillary dock that the person can pull their boat to. Hopefully, if they're with multiple people, that person can go up and retrieve the vehicle from the campsite or the ancillary parking lot or where that is. And then as they prep their vehicle to come down, then as the spot opens, then that person can move the boat in and work as a team to move it in and out more efficiently.
Why
Um,
couldn't one of the sides of the two proposed docks be a staging dock?
Well, you're just you're renaming it. You're creating 4 lanes. And,
Mhm.
and I'm saying creating just the 2 lanes to control the flow and then having the staging area, which is not going to be able to load from there. But that just allow somebody to get on or off. If somebody gets, puts their boat in the water, okay, great. We can pull it over to here. We can clear the way for the next person to be courteous. Then they can go park their vehicle where necessary and then off they go. So.
Don,
But
will you
then
take
that
a question?
requires them to drop somebody and then move their boat before they can back, to the spot where they can actually back their trailer up to it. It just seems like it'd just be easier to designate that. It just seems like it'd just be easier to have the 2 docks, because most of the time you're not gonna have 4 docks there. And then that buys a little more time for the people that are there to retrieve their trailer, and then they just back right down to it without having to drop somebody and then move their boat over to a different dock, is all I'm saying. I'm just looking for efficiency in getting people out of the water. That's the reason for going with the 2 docks, 4 ramps, so that you've got efficiency in getting people out of the water. Because I do know that, and Scott can verify this, you have one of those staging docks, then you're gonna be messing with the order of people getting out of the water. So people out on the water kind of have this, okay, that person was before me and that person was behind me, in getting over to the general area of the ramp. So then now you've got somebody that's been up to a dock, but they've got to get back in the line to get over to the dock where they pull out. So if they could just pull up and launch or retrieve from that dock, would be better for keeping your place in line. You see what I'm saying? Because, I'm sorry, we have to have permission from the board to get comments from the audience. But I'm just saying, to me, it seems more efficient to just have the 2 docks instead of 1 dock that you can't pull your boat out.
Board, we have some comment potentially from the public. Are we interested in hearing it?
Didn't she cover what you had said or no?
Primarily, it's just that the.
Hold on, you gotta hold on.
I'm fine with public comment.
She asked, so that's the only I was responding.
She doesn't run the meeting.
Yep, gotta wait. He's gotta give you control.
I have no disagreement with the comment.
Don?
I'm fine with any comments.
No, go ahead, Scott. Say what you wanted to say.
When you're launching your boat, your vehicle and trailer are your place in line. When you're coming off the water, your boat, you're holding and jockeying, let's call it, in the water, holding your place till there's an opening up there. When you come off to the side, you drop somebody because they've had issues with that. Come up and drop somebody, they're trying to force their way down through the line, and they back their truck and trailer in, and then now they're having to jam their way in front. So it's one way or the other way. Some launches, you park your vehicle over your boat on the side because it's a beach type one, not the sand. Pull it up, stick it, you go get your truck and trailer, that's still your place. Here, because it's all rock and gravel, and you can't do it on 1 dock, because then you're gonna have a row of people waiting to come down, and then disagreements happen like that. Who was out there first? Usually people are pretty nice about it, but not always.
One quick comment, back to the docks themselves too. Again, the DNR standard is those are skid pier docks. So they are movable. If you find that the configuration that you want to move 1 to the side and use it as a staging dock, that's also a possibility. I mean, the whole point of that skid pier is so they're not in the water during the winter and susceptible to a lot of ice damage. So again, that's the overall planking could be scalable. The overall orientation of the docks could also be somewhat flexible.
Couldn't you just bid it out both ways to see what's cost effective?
I'm not having any drawings to look at. I'm not sure what I'd be agreeing to, but
Uh-uh.
the idea of having 4 docks, 4 lanes at $700,000 is just.
But
I
it's
think-
not, but it isn't gonna cost $700,000 to put in 4 lanes down there and 2 docks. Okay, you're looking at the entire cost of the project. And I might add, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm sorry for interrupting, but the second boat wash station, the ranger station, and the utilities for the ranger station, that's not in this project. That is not part of the cost of this project. Those are additional that we shouldn't even be putting that out for bid right now. That hasn't been, we're not ready to put a ranger station out for bid. We're probably just gonna buy one of these pre-built cabin things and make that into a ranger station, you know?
But don't the prints call for to be moved?
To move it, yeah, you can move it. You don't have to build a brand new one to move it. I put the cost to move it in the memo, the second memo that's in there. It's gonna be a minimal amount of money to move. Well, no, that was for the shed. But I'm just saying, that can be a separate thing. The whole ranger station thing can be a separate thing. It's not an approved item in this waterways grant. It was not applied for to do anything with the ranger station. We're just talking about the launch, the additional parking, and reconfiguring the entryway.
And when you taking those items out, as
Mhm.
I hear you loud and clear,
Right.
I'm out at $550,000. Again, 350 out of the township, 200 in the grant, assuming that the grant even
Right.
qualifies for the whole 200.
Right.
I'm not sure that it may or may not based on the phase out. So again, it's $550,000. I just,
For all of it.
I know, but I view it
But we
differently.
started out with 400,000 and that's with a 20% contingency that may or may not get used. So my question was, what needs to change on the plan? You indicated some things. Is there anything else that a scaled back project is going to have to go back through waterways to see whether they're agreeable with that or not? So,
And I think Supervisor Pop brought that up back in June. I think in a meeting asking F&V to tell us what would be involved if that were the case. And I think at that time it was how does the waterways grant view it? Are they just going to say, no, it's now or nothing, or it's all or nothing, or what's the process for that? I never got an answer on that.
and I think we need
Did
to
you?
give them specifics in order to get an answer out of them. We need to give them some specifics. Okay, we have determined that we would like to change this. We have these changes that have come to light. What are they? 1, 2, 3. What are they? You have to give them some specific information so that they can make a determination. They're going to want some specific information, and that's all I'm asking for is exactly what the board would think would be a couple, 3 changes that we can ask waterways if they would be in agreement with.
And Rick did respond.
Back to that, yes.
And it was,
The waterways grant, their sole criteria is, does it benefit water access for the people of Michigan? There are no specifics. So if you give us some direction, we can definitely go back to them and say, what if we reduce this, this, and this? And like you said, in most cases, they're also very reasonable. They know that honestly, the last 2 years with COVID, the supply chain issues, this project, as far as seeing escalation, is not the only one.
Right.
Every project has seen just a massive amount of escalation just because workforces are down, products are down, and costs are up. That's a given. So they've stressed to us in the past is we're very reasonable. Just come back and let's outline a plan and ask. And that's a very good next step. We'd be more than happy to help do that.
So a couple of potential questions here. The concrete planking, I don't recall its length. So we have a width on it and there was a depth, but what was the length?
18 feet.
18
Their
feet?
standard size for the DNR is 4 feet wide by 18 feet long. And again, that's where the same planks that were done in 1998, the design is slightly different now. Again, that's something we could also explore. Like you said, I think a lot of those planks, just being in the water for 30 plus years, they're starting to degrade. So I don't know. Our experience is there's not really much value in trying to salvage them. It's more trouble than it's worth.
Sure.
And then also the original way the planks used to be designed, they used to be bolted together.
Yep.
Now it's just sheer weight and gravity. To explain it quickly, a typical installation is they put H-beams in the aggregate and virtually they just slide the planks down one after another and they just butt up against with sheer weight and it keeps them in place. And then when they're done, they pull the H-beams out. So, but back to that, but it is designed to be 4 planks wide. Would there be the possibility of doing 3 planks wide? Sure.
My thought was, as part of the scalability question, could we just do a single plank at this point in time? I'm sorry, that wrong statement. A single dock at this time requiring 2 planks, 36 feet wide, okay? And then potentially prepare the shoreline for that other set. And we would consider this just because it got us a little closer to the parking lot, which I see as the second most talked about concern. So we get a new dock, we get new planks if we need them, but we're kind of thinking we could use the planks that are there, maybe set new planks to the north, right? And so this all controls our cost or provides some scalability. Use what's there, new dock on top of it, build the parking lot. Third phase is bring in that second dock. So I'm trying to put a priority to the items of concern that we heard here today. For sure, it is the dock length, okay?
Back to your point, could you build, I would say, yes, if you want to build half of it new, just don't do anything that would preclude you from doing the expansion, if that's
right
happens. That's a perfectly good kind
So-
of middle of the road.
So for example, on this blowout or this outlier picture, for most of us who are familiar with the lake, I'm going to refer to those 2 docks as north and south. Does that make sense to everyone?
What are you looking at?
The
Oh, right here.
the
This right
blowout
here?
picture.
Okay,
If you were to superimpose the south dock with the existing dock, where would the existing dock be?
It's pretty much right under the south dock is pretty much within a few feet of the existing platform.
So,
Yeah, I see it.
so most of the proposed construction is to the north. Would that be a fair statement?
I'd say 80+% of the new
Okay.
dock was in a new untouched virgin area,
Yep.
if you will.
Yep. So we could address some major complaints: dock safety, dock length, easier to boat on and off, by just replacing that south dock. Build our parking lot. Don't do really anything in the water at this point, which would potentially save some
planks are the big expense. I would even suggest maybe even doing the aggregate for the expansion to the north. That way all your work in the water is done.
So I had somebody, that's kind of where I was headed, right? And then somebody brought up the idea that, we're in an open lake. And so what is the water current going to do as far as filling this thing in? And how much of a ongoing maintenance issue will we actually have? And so, that's above my pay grade and probably above all of ours here. The only thing I can point to is that over the last 30 years, only the last 2 or 3 concrete planks that are existing have really been covered up by measurable lake bottom. Would you agree with that?
And that's as much boat wash as any
Sure.
power loading. There's always a bit of scour at the end of
Yep.
a dock.
Yep.
But you also look at the fact of any sedimentation or issues. I mean, the water is amazingly clear and you can see that the planks are fairly intact and there isn't a lot of sediment over them. So it doesn't appear that that's a major concern.
Agreed.
But
So-
again, it's addressing that end. And, that's where, again, getting that aggregate in place is really the most critical step of the launch construction.
So thinking about the north dock, if we were to put a number, and let's just call it a straw poll number, on the north dock and the related construction, are we looking at 100K, 200,000? Just a rough guess. I see the dock was at like 20 grand, which I think you're gonna have a problem finding a dock for
Well,
20
let's-
grand.
But even say 10.
The number was like 34, wasn't it?
44.
44.
So
79,000.
1,800 times 22.
Mhm.
So 39.6.
So roughly.
100 grand.
Well, no, conservatively, you'd probably say 50,
Okay,
just with that simple change. That wouldn't preclude you from doing anything in the future. You'd automatically bring it down
Mhm.
50 some thousand.
not a lot,
But
right? So, yeah, sure.
So I don't know if anybody noticed. I'm sorry. go ahead.
one other thing too, is typically when we set up our bidding documents, it is based on a measurement and payment basis. So a lot of these items are unitized that can be taken up or taken down via change order process too. So that's a third possibility. But it is itemized. It's not just launch and
Mhm.
you have no idea of knowing. The parts, it is broken down into probably the docket and that whole launch here. So 6 parts of bid items. So that is the benefit of it too. With we like that just again for scalability.
So I was just gonna mention, I guess I'm not following exactly. You're saying use the existing planks, except the existing planks need to come out of there. Because especially on the south side, because I don't know if you noticed, but a lip has been created. I don't know when it started, but I noticed 3 years ago that there's a lip on the south plank, the first one. Whatever, it's under the water, that has been created. That plank has sunk. Okay, so that is occasionally a problem for small boats, small boat trailers. They get hung up on that. And then they have to back out, move over and come out further north on that south ramp. So we have issues out there, and
I was-
likely more are gonna be found if the work ever gets done.
I was just trying to find a way to provide the scalability that we're looking for or feasibility, however you want to refer to it as. I was looking for some common ground, Cheryl.
Yeah,
But you are.
no, I get it. I'm
There would
just-
be, but to Cheryl's point too, to extend the launch or do anything, all those existing planks logistically are gonna have to come out.
Absolutely.
There's no adding on, again, the
Right.
nature of construction, not that they can't be salvaged, but
Right.
the ideal is to take everything out, get the base, even extend it out further correctly,
Yeah.
then everything gets slid back in its proper place. So that's also, again, if they're salvageable, then yeah, we could program in, assume salvaging of existing planks.
I was merely thinking that we would drive a new dock over the top of what's there.
I don't know if it's a simple, if the length is the issue to extend it
Yeah.
out. It's.
Well, if they're already 12 feet beyond, again, the planks are for the tire of the trailer. And so if we're launching a 24-foot boat, that trailer is likely 28 feet or less. And so as long as we can get 24 feet where the axles are for the trailer, that's all that needs to be on the concrete. Now, the deck can go beyond where the concrete's at, depending on how the deck is how it is designed.
There
You
is
know,
a-
currently that deck was a DNR design.
Yeah.
And it's their add-on version. So originally that dock was only 32 feet long. I think close analysis of it, you'll see where the add-on portion to it has been added. But that is a DNR design. Probably still in use today. Mhm. So where do we go, board? I mean, we've heard a lot of things here today.
Well, I'm still for the two docks. I have seen just tons of occasions where four launch lanes are needed out there. And I think that that's what we go with. Yes, I hear all the time about how the dock needs to be longer. And the dock is 38 feet right now, not counting the little deck plate thing that flips up to make a little incline to walk onto the dock. And so getting it out there another 10, 12 feet definitely needs to happen. And like I say, the two docks is really the ideal situation with 4 launch lanes, because that's just going to speed up the process of people getting their boats in and out, especially at critical times. And, the parking lot is very much needed, particularly if you're going to be turning the only change I think we really need to make is to put the inbound boat wash in the additional parking area. I think that's a good idea to put that there. So people can do it, and people can do that. They can, if somebody wants to come down there and wash their boat and not launch, they can turn around right there. They could pull back out of it and go back out. Maybe somebody, we're assuming that the only time people want to wash their boat is, as they're ready to launch. There might be people wanting to use that other times, other than that. So
Then drive down a dirt road with a wet boat, okay.
well, there's times when that road's in pretty good shape. So the road is what it is. And So most of the road is not too bad. And well, with the airless system, you're not driving out with a wet boat. correct?
Exactly, but
Yeah.
I can't see somebody driving down that. just
So
to do that.
anyways, and of course, people, they can take their boat home and wash it.
No, you can't.
Can't make them wash their boat
Well,
there.
we better figure out something because we're already not within compliance of the law. Because if you pull up when you're supposed to start this boat launch washing, the date was 3/21/2019.
Well, the boaters have to comply with that. The launch, the park doesn't have the authority to, we can say, yes, we want your boat clean when you come in here, but as far as when they're leaving, we don't have any authority over that. But I'm still for the 2 launches. I think that there's the kind of traffic at this launch that we need 2 launches, and that's a safety thing too, So, and we definitely need to separate the camper and boat traffic as people come in, so boaters aren't sitting on the road waiting behind campers, which the check-in process can be, they get it done as quick as they can. I'm still for, the original part of the project. I think it can be done. And without not considering the ranger station, and the second boat wash, which I think those funds need to come from somewhere else, not, I just believe we can get grant money for those things. And I think the park has that money sitting there already allocated, 240,000 of it is sitting there allocated. The DNR is ready to reimburse us $200,000. And to me, we move forward with getting the original project bid out with this change of, the boat wash placement for inbound.
Time was, the camper check-in was north of the island that's showing there on this proposed drawing. The foundation, the electrical service, the underground electrical service is still there. It wasn't until recently that that ranger station was used for both. So for
Well, I
those,
don't know, for the entire 10 years I've been
well, I'm just telling you,
involved with
that's
the
how
park.
it was.
Right.
So
But that's,
we actually made it worse by
Yeah.
moving the ranger station and
well,
using.
somebody did.
Somebody did,
Yeah.
sure, yeah. So that could easily be accommodated to separate the traffic. So,
I still have no answer to my question. Who's following this project? You, Cheryl, the PrAC,
The board
the
is.
board? Oh, the board.
is,
Okay.
it's the board's, the board is the one who's, and when it's bid out, there'll be in my opinion, there'll be a general contractor who will be overseeing it, and they will answer to the board. We'll also have to have the engineering firm will have to, like we did with the fire station, we didn't pay anything until the engineer approved. There were progress meetings twice a month on that. I would assume there would be on this. You get pay applications and you don't pay those until the engineer has approved that, yes, all these things were done and they were done to the standards and the specifications that are in the plans.
Are you talking about the fire station you didn't build or the fire station that's sitting there today and putting the addition on?
Well, with the fire station renovation addition project, there was a general contractor and there was an engineer.
Cheryl, that's not the question I asked you. Did you just explain? Never mind. Never mind.
yes,
I'm
she
ready
just
to vote.
explained the addition.
Thank you.
Mhm.
'Cause
Which,
I know where the other one went, nowhere.
Well, I'm.
which I
just
think
ex-
it doubled in cost from what
Mhm.
we had originally.
What I was
planned.
just thinking about.
No,
and
it
so-
did not double in cost.
Okay,
Yeah. it didn't
yeah,
double.
because we removed the parking lot and all of that. And yeah,
Whatever,
I get it.
I'm proud to say that we turned what was a dump into a nice facility for our employees to work in over there. And it had to be done. That building was built back in the 70s and it's definitely,
So does somebody have a motion here?
well, I'm going to modify my original motion. I guess I'll make a motion to have Fleece and Vandenbrink revise the plan to accommodate an inbound boat wash station at the current additional parking area. And to bring those plans to the, would you be able to get that done by 9:13?
No,
Slightly
we're
before
not going to see
9:13.
this on the September meeting. No, you make your motion.
Are we making it longer?
Well,
Are
don't
we
you
making
want
it
to
last
see a
longer?
revised plan before you vote on putting it out for bid?
Yes.
I just let you make your motion.
Okay, so my motion is to have Fleece and Vandenbrink revise the plan to accommodate an inbound boat wash station at the current additional parking area. And to bring those plans and to provide, I'm sorry, Lois, to provide those plans in advance, to provide those plans, I'm sorry, for the 9:13 Township Board meeting, regular meeting.
Will that include making it longer?
I think the length, additional length on the dock is already,
It's already there.
right.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Motion made, second for the discussion. Roll call when ready.
Vamoth,
I'm voting no because I think the plan needs more work.
Bennett,
Yes.
No.
Glenn,
No.
Doss.
Yes,
Motion to adjourn?
where, well, I have a question. Where does this project go from here?
I would make a suggestion that let's come up with a plan for the inbound. Let's review scalability and the launch with waterways. Any other changes? Come back and make them. Scalability issues.
You want a special meeting for this instead of putting it on the board meeting?
Yeah, the board has already opined on that decision. That this is worthy of special
It's weedy
meetings.
enough.
I
to
agree
have
with
some-
that.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, you know,
I'm in agreement with that. Do we want a motion?
hearing none.
Well, I'll make a motion. I asked if you wanted one. I didn't hear a response. I think I got down most of what Rick said. So I'll make a motion to allow Fleece and Vandenbrink to come up with a plan for the inbound boat wash, to review scalability of the launch with waterways and any other changes to scalability of the project, and come back and make a report at a special meeting of the township board.
I'll second for discussion purposes. Your thought about scalability and mine are very parallel, right? I'm concerned that removing 50% of the launch, if you will, itself is a $50,000 savings. So that to me gets to a point where it's not worth the scalability. Thinking 25 years in the future, are we going to have more boat traffic? There'll probably be electric boats.
And you'll need to wash them and charge them without electrocuting
And
yourself.
so I think we ought to have charge stations. Now, wait a minute.
Don't.
I've
laugh,
seen the
I've
Tesla
already seen the
plans.
Tesla. I've already seen a boat
I think there
charger
was an
sitting there.
article up on Elks Rapids or one of the two, that there's some.
Yeah, the marina has it.
But there
It's an EV boat.
it's like flat screen TVs, give it 10 years.
Yeah. So, you know, if we were thinking that this would be another 30-year project, would we need the north side dock in another decade? And again, that comes back to scalability. And so for me, this is becoming less of a scalability and more about the total cost, which I believe is still out of our grasp.
Total cost has been what's my hangup's been. I just, I hear what you're saying about some peak times, but the numbers, and I'm gonna do some research on those daily numbers. They seem low, and I appreciate Ardella's comments on averages, so we'll certainly have some conversations around those with some resources I try to look. I just, it's a matter of prioritization for me. I think that it is really, I think it's a high priority to rebuild the dock, extend the dock, and fix that drop off, that plank that's budding up there. I think that some additional parking is necessary. I think that helps the situation, and the boat wash station on the inbound. Other than that, I think anything above and beyond that is not money well spent, when I think there's other priority projects both in the park and around the township that could benefit. So,
Well, I only have one thing to say about that. We got 5 people sitting here. You guys talk about what we're gonna do with the ARPA money, and we need to get everybody involved, but not one of you have said anything about having a town hall meeting to see what the citizens think about this plan, if it's money well spent or not.
I asked for subcommittee.
So, what's the subcommittee? Why don't you have a town hall meeting? Let them present the findings, what it is, what estimates or cost of, going out for bid would help in a long ways, making these changes, and see what the people want. Or is that not a concern here? Just my thoughts. Or do we only do that when it benefits us for what we want to push our agenda on?
Okay, then let's do 2 ways. Come back with your changes, get them done before September 22nd, and have them on view when everybody's at the schooling, and say, this is the next town hall. We're either gonna do this, and this is this much, or we're gonna do this, and it's this much. And oh, here's some cards and pencils. write down your thoughts and put them in the box and have a nice day.
Well, I agree with that to some extent, but the public already has weighed in on this project back in January of 2021, I'm sorry. And, you know, when I'm out at the park, I see people I know in the community
Can you give me that,
launching
can you
out
give me
there.
that date again real quick, Cheryl?
January 12th of 2021. And I see people out there going in and out who I know are members of the community. You know, and I've heard people say, when are you gonna get the boat launch done? You know, these plans were posted out there for at least a year. And people have seen the plans and they are anxious for the project to get done to alleviate the congestion down there. And also, I don't know if you're aware, but, you know, at the ranger station, the ranger station, we have to put cones out there. So we make sure certain boat trailers don't go around the corner and clip the front, one of the front posts of the building, which has happened a couple times. You know, the entryway is all part of this. And the entryway is where you've got pedestrian traffic mixing with traffic coming out of the campground, traffic coming out of the boat launch, and traffic coming into the park. To me, you can fix the boat launch and you can have the additional parking lot, but you're not gonna, that's not gonna fix the congestion that goes on at the ranger station and the competition, you know, to get into the park from boaters. And I mean, you want to see what that looks like, go out there on a Thursday after 3 or a Friday after 3 when people are checking in for the weekend. And you've maybe got cars intermingled with campers and boats and everything else. And the line is stretching back for, I don't know, several hundred feet. So and then you've got, like I say, pedestrians, you've got kids on bikes that their parents said, hey, why don't you go get a bag of ice over at the ranger station or something? That was my concern 4 years ago, when all this started, that we aren't going to have a near mishap or a tragic mishap around the ranger station with all the traffic that goes through that one intersection. So, I mean, you know, you talk about scalability, maybe there's a little bit of scalability here. But these are things that need to get done. This is one of the biggest assets that Whitewater Township has, is Whitewater Township Park and Campground. People come there year after year. They love the park. People love to have the convenience who live in this township. Most of the people who live in this township and boat do launch there. And, you know, it's an upgrade of the facility that's been a long time coming. There's other facilities, I will grant you, Don, there's other facilities in this township that need to be upgraded. For instance, this building, which is a historical building, which hasn't had anything done to it in the 10 years that I've been on the board and for many years before that, and looks worse every day inside and out. So, you know, you've got to decide, you know, where the money's going to go. The beauty of the park is that the park has its own revenue source. We're not taking any money out of the coffers or the wallets of the people who live in the township. In fact, it's people who don't live in the township who are the main ones who are maintaining that park.
Then I guess it should be free lunch.
Well, the reason it's not free, Heidi, is
why it's
because you
not.
can't treat one class of people different from another, and that was established about 20 some years ago. Yes, we all used to get free boat passes with our tax bill, and we don't get that anymore because you can't allow some people to launch for free and other people to pay, because that's against the state's rules. And that launch in that park has gotten lots of state money. So anyways, it's, you know, we're not even talking about worrying about taxpayer money here. The park has the funds. I'm talking about for the original project, the park has all of the funds that it promised to put into the project, plus more money. And we have the money to get this done. And we need to get rolling on getting this done so we can get it done within the time frame that the grant funds are available. I mean, getting a $200,000 grant is a big deal in a township of this size. And so let's not, I'm afraid we're going to dilly-dally around and squander that money. And then we're gonna get no upgrades out there. And then we're gonna have, continual degradation of the launch, of the planks, of the dock, of the entryway, no place for people to park. And these have been issues that have been brought forward. We've come up with a plan to deal with them. And now we wanna, I can go for some scalability on this project, but honestly, all the safety issues are still there, and all the issues of the wait times and all that are still gonna be there with some of this, depending on what this new scale would be. So.
Thinking about our park and recreation survey from 19 or 20, whatever that was.
20.
Did the boat ramp even get mentioned?
Mhm.
Did it?
I believe that was in
Because
there.
I remember it
It's
being
about even
all
with-
trails.
It's about even with disc golf.
Okay,
I just looked it up. I was like, wow, it's as even as disc golf. So as far as red line, blue line stuff, she can give you a copy of it. It's sitting over there. I read it the other night in Parks.
what's the motion on the floor?
Motion by Goss to follow Fleiss and Vandenbrink to come to allow, did I say follow? I'm sorry. Motion by Goss to allow Fleiss and Vandenbrink to come up with the plan for the inbound boat wash, to review scalability of the launch with waterways and any other changes to scalability of the project, and come back and make a report at a special meeting of the Township Board, second by Pop.
What did you mean by scalability, Cheryl?
I was reiterating what Rick's comments were, where he suggested to allow them to come up with a plan for the inbound boat wash, review the scalability of the launch with waterways.
I know what Rick said. Yeah, go ahead.
Back
Rick.
to your comment of, can we break it into a north and south section? Will waterways be comfortable with that? Just.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I define as scalability.
And so in conversation, I learned something a little bit. I learned something about the planks that are there. You say they got to come out before we can do anything. You shake your head, yes, but you're not an engineer. Rick is.
No,
And
I'm
so,
agreeing that they have to come out.
yeah, I know what a head shake means. Believe it or not, I do.
Sure.
And so I don't understand why they have to come out. I can drive a longer dock on those things. And I'm sure if I can do it, I can find 25 other people to do it.
Again, going back to the feedback from the boating users on how there has been a request from day one when this project started, that those planks needed to be extended out. And typically, when you put longer docks, you need to extend out longer planks.
But we already understand that the planks are 10 feet beyond the dock now or more.
That's not my observation. My observation is it's less than 4 or 5 feet beyond the existing dock, which is ergo the problem of extending a dock 10 to 15 feet. You're going to run out of plank. Like I say, the construction methods of the way they're slid in one after another, at a bare minimum, could you salvage them? Sure, but I think they're going to have to come out and get reset, which again is significantly cheaper than new planks. But there's gonna have to, there'll be some logistical probably handling of those existing planks in some way, shape or form.
Which will cost you
So-
more money.
So there is no as is of, you guys didn't do an as is of what's there today in terms of you saying 4 or 5, he's saying 10 or 12. I mean, obviously it's quite a discrepancy. There's no sketch or as is, there's no as is of right there.
There's no as-built of the existing park in general.
You didn't, your team or whoever went out there to survey it didn't just sketch out what was existing.
As best as we can, and it shows up in the survey right here,
Okay, fine.
which shows, yeah, a very limited.
But we don't know if that's, do you swear by that accuracy where you positive?
Well, I mean, that's, the survey information that we have, but we can double check it.
Any last questions? I think we need to define exactly what's palatable with you and what's palatable with the other board members. I don't want to keep bringing this thing back and back and back and back. And, we're already at noon today. And I want to have plenty of time to review our information.
My starting point, and is rebuild the existing dock, extend it out, fix whatever needs to be fixed on the current planking underneath there, boat wash on the inbound side, and some additional parking to handle some of the current overflow issues. That's where my head's at on that.
Okay.
I'm gonna rebuild, remodel only because A, people can't even find builders to build a house. B, maybe we'll be able to complete a project. Maybe we'll be able to complete a project, and C, it's easier to control what's going on. Because we didn't, I feel like this has been one person's dream or project because it hasn't been out there that long to everybody. Like a newspaper tells you it's out there, or it's up on the wall, but I think a lot of people don't even know this is happening right now. So I'm for a scale down and make what we got better, but maybe make sure we can make what we got better immediately or in the next season so it gets done. This looks like it might take 2-3 years. So that's my opinion. Rebuild, remodel.
Hello.
Well, I know it's being made to seem like it is just one person's project, but this project's come back in front of this board repeatedly since 2019. I mean, I think you said 3 times, and we've had
Several times.
yeah. So, and the board voted on it multiple times, different stages. So it's not just one person. I don't want it to be made out that that's what's going on here. My suggestion that you get the townspeople involved. I don't know. At what point do you do that? Never, because you're just gonna throw away the grant we've got because it doesn't fit some little mold you've got of saving money. I don't know. So, if there's a vote on the table, I would like to see Fleece and Vanderbrink, if they're even willing to still work with us, bring us back something in a scaled down model. I wrote down what Supervisor Pop said he considered would be something he wanted to still do. I wrote down what Trustee Glenn said he wanted. They're pretty much the same thing. I don't know what Heidi said, other than she agrees with you two. So yeah, bring back that. Expand the parking, fix the boat launch that's there, maybe widen it like Don said. and put a boat washing station in and nothing else. I believe that's what you said, Ron. So that's what I'm for.
So there's a motion on the table right now. Cheryl, do you care to revise it or you just want to vote it up or down?
Well, I think that everybody understands what the scalability is that you three are looking
Up or
for.
down?
Well, excuse me, I'll answer it as I see fit. I think everybody understands, and I think Rick understands what you're talking about scalability. So I think we just vote on the motion.
Okay, roll call when ready.
Could you just reread the motion for me? I'm sorry. Go, Lois, I'm ready.
I'm there. Motion by Goss to allow Fleiss and Vandenbrink to come up with the plan for the inbound boat wash, to review scalability of the launch with waterways and any other changes to scalability of the project, and come back and make a report at a special meeting of the township board. Second by Pop.
Thank you, Lois.
Roll call when ready.
Goss,
Yes.
Vamos,
Wow. I'll vote yes.
Glenn,
Yes. No.
Bennett,
Yes.
Motion passes. Board comments or discussion?
I have one. Things might go a little smoother for projects and ideas if people would get us information a little quicker than we either sit down here or we read our email. Because if you don't check your email like every 6 hours, you have no idea what you could see or not see. So let's be a little more team friendly and get our information out when people can research things a little better. I'd really appreciate that.
Anyone else? Public comment here in the Township Hall.
My name is Dan Bellinger. I'm speaking as a community member living in this township for 26 years, growing up in Acme. I believe that this board is implying to the public that the money that's saved for this is taxpayer money. It is free money from the park that comes to the park from campers that come every year. All of this project is free to the taxpayers. So I hope the taxpayers are listening, because what the board is doing now is acting as a bank to save all this money for who knows what. Now let's take it from there. Let's let them save it, as they're going to do, and they're scaling down the boat launch, and that's fine with me. But there's a lot more to this public park than a boat launch. There's a lot of projects that need to be addressed. And that free money from the campers needs to be spent right away. We need to upgrade the public pavilion that has cracks in the floor and can't walk around it. There's no accessibility. We need to put in a public restroom. We have all the money, all the plans, they're just porta potties that we slide into a building, and we don't rent them anymore for $600 a month. We simply buy them. We're wasting our money. We take care of the waterfront where the lawn chairs are. We've put all those down there. People like to sit by the water. Whitewater Township Park is a park to the public, not just to the boaters. We need to address the north end of the park as a place for people to gather however they want, whether it's sitting by the water, using the pavilion, or taking care of the beach and doing all the landscape necessary to go with it. All the money is there to take care of it for all of the public, not just the boaters. By taking care of that part of the public park free, unlike any other township that has built a public park on the water, Acme pays for it with taxes. Elk Rapids pays for it with taxes. They pay for everything with taxes. Ours is free to the public due to the fact that we run a nice campground, an escalated campground, and people come year after year paying the fees so that we can have the north end of the park, not just for boaters, as a public gathering spot. You don't take care of the pavilion. You don't put a sidewalk to it. You don't put any, we rent bathrooms, which is ridiculous. We finally cleared out the south end of the park so people can sit by the water like they do in Acme. No board motion was ever made on that. That was by people who live here and work there and dedicated to making it a public park. And it's also a dangerous entryway into that public park, not just for the boaters and not just for the campers, but for those people who simply want to drive down the road and go sit by the water. I don't know how many of you, I know Don's been there. He sees the lawn chairs. Go down there someday. People will be sitting along the water. People like to use the pavilion, but it is such terrible shape. I wouldn't rent that for anything. We need to upgrade the public end of the park, and we need to stop focusing just on the boaters. We need to focus on taking care of the campground. We have all the money so that we can even earn more money to improve the public part of the park. I don't care if there's a boat ramp at all. It's a nice public park, but we need to look at all of it. And we have all the money sitting in a bank and nobody's willing to spend it. The township is not intended to be a bank, whether it's tax money or money that we have gained from campers to take care of a park on Elk Lake, totally free of charge to the taxpayers, because that is not taxpayer money, but I am sure they would certainly like you to spend that money that we have saved on that park and stop roadblocking every single thing. If you don't want to put in a boat launch, put in a sidewalk to the pavilion. If you don't want to put in a boat launch, put in a public bathroom so we don't rent them anymore. If you don't want to put in a boat launch, landscape the north side of the park. Take care of it. Buy us some nice benches so we're not buying plastic ones at the hardware. We have all the money. It's free. We're not a bank. Spend the money that the park has earned on the park. Show the taxpayers that you're good stewards of their money. You're not a bank. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I would first like to thank everybody for listening about an inbound boat wash. I appreciate that it sounds like everybody's on board with that now. I want to reiterate some of the things that Dan just said. There's other things at the park that need funds as well. So I do think we need to be careful how much we plow into just the boat launch. I share the concerns about the restroom and the pavilion not being very nice, and I'm sure there's other things. And I agree, the traffic pattern is a bit of a problem out there. So I agree with a lot of what he said. I look forward to figuring out how to fix some of this. I mean, I think the one thing that nobody mentioned today is, I've been to parks before where sometimes they are full, lot full sign. And I'm really not sure why, in some cases, maybe we should think about limiting the surges that we're allowing in there, not just allowing more people to come in than what we have parking spaces for. And I know that's going to frustrate some people, but I do think if we put our heads together, maybe we could come up with a plan on how to keep the number of trailers under control. And I'm not saying that Cheryl hasn't tried to do some of that, but maybe some other people need to contribute to some ideas. Lastly, I would like to clear up one thing. I am on the Parks and Recreation Committee. I've been on it for 3 years, and we have not had any direct input into this project whatsoever.
Anyone else?
Heidi Baumia, 8388 Winnie Lane, private citizen. Did you hear them? Please, hear them. Come back with nice plan. Remember, I'm a private citizen right now. I used the park yesterday. Dan, I thought the chairs were excellent. But span and control, we're not controlling in this park. It's out of control. Because the porta potty's got to go. I mean, if we're fixing problems that are safety oriented, bathrooms might be on the list. I don't know. But not once have you looked on this side of the room or behind you. Please hear the people, because they're the most important people in the room. And Dan, you talk about free money. It's not free money, because you got a lot of costs. Okay, and maybe we're being a little concerned here because of those costs. Remember, public safety isn't even considered in any of this free money. So stop. My turn. Nothing's free because everything has a cost. Okay, nothing's free. Last I checked, if my kid wanted a new pair of pants and he grew 10 sizes, I'd have to pay for him, or I'd have to glue some length on his pants. Nothing's free. And when I say nothing's free, if I have to do something, that's money out of my pocket because I have to do something. So hear us, please, because this is fantastic, but the limited amount of what's been seen or heard, what people really thought about, because remember, nobody notices anything unless you're blocking their driveway. Okay, and I noticed that the planks are all worn yesterday because I had to walk on them with one foot and I had to watch my other footing. So I know exactly what you're talking about with the planks. And I know exactly what he's talking about with his trailer and the boat thing, trust me. I had to do it with 1 foot 3 times now. It's not fun. But understand the span of control and that the cost of everything, and we have to look at a big picture. Heck, maybe when we're done, we'll even get maybe a quarter of the road paved or something. Who knows? Let's rock.
Anyone else here in Township Hall?
I want to revisit that.
Can't.
Mine's Dan
Can't,
Bellinger.
I'm sorry.
Can't do that?
Nope.
No, okay, it's just not taxpayers' money.
Anyone else? Come on up.
Michelle Rivera, Civic
No, come on up. please.
Come on up,
Thank you.
hon.
Yeah.
9543 Placer Road. I'm going to go back to one of the first things you guys were talking about at Mill Creek for setup. The board might want to contact Mr. Graham and find out who's responsible for National Honor Society at the middle school, because those children have to do community service.
Good idea.
And many kids are dropped at Mill Creek at the end of the day to be picked up there. So just a thought for setup. National Honor Society, students are required to do community service. How many tables are you thinking? Oh,
3.
not a problem. Do you need chairs?
5.
Oh, maybe we'll have one kid come and sit there.
Well, no, what I was thinking is you could use them for passing the mic, pencils. Let me look into that. Let me put them in the plan. How's
I don't
that?
know who's responsible at the middle school at this point,
I'll find out.
but just a possibility. Thanks.
I'll make a comment as a board member. Dan, thank you for your comments. I wish you would have said them at the first public comment. That way I wouldn't have continued with any boat ramp discussion. If we've got that many things to fix down there, I'm sure toilets are covered under a waterways grant. And so, you know, I hate to tell you, yeah, this meeting, I feel like we wasted our time. If we need to fix those other items, they should be on the table. And the only reason they're not is because we have a single view of what that park needs. And I feel that we have been betrayed.
Can I do public comment? then?
Sure.
Lois McLean, 5919 Linderleaf Lane. I've been to almost all of the Parks and Rec Committee meetings since it was started. These repairs, these things, these upgrades have been on their plan and in their plan since the beginning. And so, I mean, this isn't new from 2019. It's been part of it. It's also a very expensive thing. And the Parks and Rec works toward smaller things that's more in the dollar range that the board tends to like to have done. Having a grant available is tremendous to the township for getting this stuff done at additionally no expense to taxpayers. So not only are the taxpayer funds, only the park user fees are what pays for it, but also the state is interested in plugging money into this project for us. We have a lot of things that have been brought before the Parks and Recreation Committee has had a lot of things that's been brought before the board to be addressed. This toilet problem is not the first time it's been brought up. It's been brought up multiple times to be addressed. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you.
Connie Highmore Bags Road. So it's good to hear that there are other projects that the park is in need of. I'm sure that the campers, the people who are spending their money out there would be glad to have more than a new boat ramp. And there are lots of campers who don't have a boat. So to say that all these funds from the park that are sitting in a bank account that are just going to be used toward a project that only serves people who have a boat is not really fair either. If there's a safety issue with a restroom or a pavilion, it's as bad as dangerous park equipment. You got to get it fixed. Look at the big picture. A boat ramp only serves the people with boats. The campers there have other things that need to be taken care of so that they can also be served. Thank you.
Scott Smith, my wife and I are seasonal residents up here. And the park does need other upgrades. I've sat through meetings up here. We've been coming and seen the bathrooms repair, shot down, heated discussions over that. High Parade Park was brought up earlier. Can you tell me what that generates compared to this park? Exactly. I think the upgrades for the whole park, the things that need to be done, are maintenance items. They shouldn't be waited and held on and drug out. They need to be addressed and taken care of. Dock, bathrooms. You put in this boat wash, you've had well pump issues in the last couple of years. So now you have to look at additions there. Nobody's mentioning any of that. It's going to take water. All these things take additional maintenance and upgrades. And the people that come to this area, your township, primarily come for the waterways, whether it's from here to Torch, here on Elk, all these connecting and spending their money here. That's where your income comes from. And you guys are just not following that trail. You don't want it to change. I understand that. You like your small community. That's what we like about it too. Making it bigger, etc. But long-term, adding your additional ramps for maybe a later, sure, makes sense if it's up to fiscally responsible to do that. But you have to remember where your money has came from and that you all were elected not to further your agendas. You were elected to do what your constituents want you to do. Thank you.
Anyone else? Denise, thank you for raising your hand. Any comment?
Yes, I have to say, to give you a heads up, I was not involved in the initial public discussion about the boat launch at all, or the park upgrade. So I'm working out of ignorance, but anyway, I was wondering if the entrance could be widened so that there could be cars on one side and boats entering on the right side, for example, and then have a boat wash right there when they go in. I did ask someone about how long it took to wash a boat, and they said about 2 minutes. So, there'd be a wait of 2 minutes. And I know on a busy day that traffic is long. However, that may be an option to look at. Maybe put the boat wash even on the, like you said, outside before you enter and get it done. But it's about a 2-minute operation. If you want to speed things up, you could have someone do a fundraiser where you have kids washing someone's boat for a couple bucks and, speed things up at some time. So that was my only thought, but that may be out of the realm of possibility. So, I'll just make that as my public comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom wishing to make a public comment? Hello, Tom. Hello, Vicky.
Good afternoon. Thank you all again for your time. I guess the question I would pose to the group, and it seems like there's confusion on a lot of sides. Where is the money? I guess my comment would be, show me the money. Maybe it's time to take a look at what really is coming in from the park, what is being spent there, where is it going? I echo what Heidi said. There is no such thing as free money. There are certainly things that the proceeds of camping fees and that would be needed for. I guess I would also encourage, I keep hearing the rates that are being charged. I'm a camper, and I would say that the camping fees are pretty darn reasonable for the location of that park. And when was the last time that was actually looked at? So I guess, again, the best way for me to summarize my comment about everything that's going on with potential needs and wants of that campground would be show us the money. And I don't believe there's just money sitting around. I can't believe that at all. So I think maybe that would help clear it up for everybody. Thank you for your time.
Tom, do you still want to make a comment? There you are. Can you unmute your microphone?
Can you hear me now?
You don't sound like a Tom, but yes, we can.
Well, this is Vicky. I just want to mention in all these comments, I agree with many of the public comments, but I do have to wonder, at one time, this park was for not just boaters, not just campers. There are other people that go there to enjoy access to the water without necessarily boating. So where in all this plan for parking, you're catering to the boat trailers, which yes, I agree there's a need, but there is a shortage of parking for people who do not have a boat attached to their vehicle. So does this plan include additional parking for those people? And nowhere am I hearing any concerns about the effects of additional parking, additional traffic going to the park, and the effect on the road. Who's going to maintain the road? Cheryl, you made a comment about the road is what it is. Well, what about all the people who are driving expensive boats, campers, and vehicles, and the damages it does to the vehicles? I've picked up tires that have completely broken off boat trailers along the road. You can't just have a target location to go. You also have to look at how people are getting there and how that's being maintained. The whole road is not maintained by the county. Somebody has to be paying for that. So I'd like to know what the plan is to make that road so it's not so dusty and bumpy. I'm not saying that it needs to be paved, but that is a huge issue. And I thank you for all your hard work. There's lots on the table. I don't think we should just push through a project as we learn more knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Carrie, for your note of no comment. We appreciate that. And seeing no additional hands up. Wrong button. The motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion. Roll call when ready.
Bennett,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Dahlmuth,
Yes.
Pop.
Yes. 12:22 p.m. I get a copy of this video.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lois.
Yep. You want to send her an email reminder because I won't be back there for.
You want me to send you a reminder for this? Okay, sure.
Thank you.
So I wish I'd heard all of that.